Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
I hear you.
Does your screen look normal? It says it's failed to play the video, but I think it has played the video.
I mean, I see the first slide.
I didn't see a
Oh, you see the
video.
first slide? Okay, I'm going to reload because for some reason I can't see anything. So give me 1 second. You guys stay and say hello to everyone and I'll be back.
I can say hello to everyone. Scott. Oh no, trouble's here. Scott Trouble. Uh, Kelly Louise Brown has been following me all night. I'm just kidding. Hi, Kelly. And that's it. Scott and Kelly. And the beautiful Dee Dee on screen. Hi, Dee Dee. You look hot.
Hi, Shibuya, as per
Wow.
usual. No, just kidding.
You look
Hi.
really good tonight, actually. Your hair looks great.
Oh, well, thank you. I just threw it up. I mean, down. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Scott. Hi, Charlotte. Where's
Charlotte
Crystal?
Gearing
I don't see Crystal
from
here.
Charlie from UK. Is Charlotte Charlie as in
Oh, Charlie's lovely. She's joined us before. She
awesome?
actually was writing to Rick. So she's
Awesome.
actually
Oh,
speaking to Rick at some point. So she's been
I
able to
think the
give us
only
some feedback on how he's going.
Yeah, I think everyone's great except that Scott guy. We got to keep an eye on him.
Hi, Carol.
Oh, she's always here. Yeah, I know. He stalks us. He stalks us. So we've got Diana with us today. We finally got Dee Dee to join us.
Hey. I caught you at a good time.
Well, apparently
Amy
we
and
need more
Shibby need more
volume.
volume.
My volume is my volume's the usual volume. I think it's just because Dee Dee's a bit louder, right?
Well, it's fine. Um, I put mine on the automatic volume so it controls itself, but
Me too.
Dee Dee
Me
was
too.
yelling.
It's Dee Dee.
As
She's
for,
shouting at everybody.
yes,
Now, can we just start off by saying, Scott, please do not steal our mods into a different
yeah,
universe like you did last time.
yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, did you get that worked out? Yeah, I saw that when I went live with mine. I actually looked at it and it said that Mars
Yes,
promotion or whatever, and it said they recommended both landscape and portrait, but I chose only landscape.
exactly. Me too. Today, I'm not using it again. It was so ridiculous. Dee Dee wasn't here, so
Oh,
she didn't see how Scott stole pertinent.
yes. No, we didn't even figure out what was going on for the first half an hour. But Amy,
You know,
can you
I
make sure you put the chat overlay on so when I download this and put
oh
it on
yes,
my channel, I'll have it
you get the
if you
chat.
can,
Yes, of
because
course, of
I
course.
don't I
Let's
have
do
the
it.
free StreamYard, so I couldn't do that for myself.
There we
I have to
go. It should
pay.
come
So
on in a minute.
Scott was taking
Yeah.
pertinent to the other side.
Well,
Yeah.
there was
Can you
two.
believe
Dee Dee,
it?
did you know what
Hey,
happened or no?
Mustang.
Hi, Mustang. Thank you for
Dee Dee, want me to
coming.
explain to you or no?
I
I'll
mean,
quickly explain.
pertinent is she walks the line very thinly, I
No,
have noticed.
no,
So if he pulled her to the other side, I'm
I
not
don't think you
shocked.
understand. Do you know what happened or no? You should understand. Okay, so there's a new thing in StreamYard. When you go live, they make you choose to go landscape or portrait, but they recommend both. So you'll have two separate streams going. And we didn't figure that out. So people were kind of, if you'd left and came back, if they went into the wrong stream, like how Prof used to have two streams, but he had them on two different channels. Remember how people would get confused? It was the
He
same
still
thing
does
for the
that.
first hour. Yeah, but that was different scenario, but the same type of thing. Where last night we had two separate streams and we didn't figure out for the first hour or so what was happening because people were showing up and they were disappearing. They had a little mobile sign, they were portrait, landscape, blah blah. So there was two separate lives.
Yeah. It was funny. When I listened to it again, I was like literally laughing in my bed last night at like the whole debacle. It was quite
You
funny.
know, it's funny because yeah, we figured it out, and I watched two other live streams, and they all did the same thing. They were like, you know, talking about this. Oh, I noticed that somebody mentioned this, and within a half an hour, they're like, oh my God, we got two separate streams going.
Yeah, it was funny. Okay, well, hello. Hi, Crystal. Hi, Scott. Hi. I said hi, Mustang. We've got Carol in here. We've got Charlotte in here. We've got Kelly in here. Who else have we got? I think that's everybody. Everyone else is lurking, but welcome. Come join the chat because we don't bite. Kai is not on duty today, so there are no biters here. Dee Dee has been missing out on all the fun. So Kai the cat is the digital forensic expert. He's very good at his forensics, but he did make one mistake the other day. So we won't hold it against him because we all make mistakes. I make mistakes. I've made lots. We're going to laugh at them soon, aren't we, Shibby?
We are. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. And I guess on the topic of mistakes, I guess that's that's pretty much been something that on this channel we've always admitted because gosh, I've definitely evolved over time. I mean, if you watch the early videos where I'm trying to pretend I'm a British person, which I am, but and I'm starting out a lot more conspiracy than I do now because I think I loved to jump to conclusions there and it was exciting, but now I've kind of toned it down a little bit and kind of settled into this space and using my my more scientist practitioner brain to approach this case better now, where before I really feel like I was just jumping on things and trying to make sense of them. So now, though, I think anyone who's been following along knows that we've really been taking this sort of careful, layered approach, and we've been kind of evolving. Each video builds on the last, and we kind of show this unfolding evidence and interpretation, and we kind of cross-check over time. Scott will remember the day where he was screaming on the chat because I was suddenly saying maybe the crime scene wasn't the crime scene because there wasn't enough blood there, and he was going, no, 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 and he was right, because that was one of those things where there's a little bit of information that one person says and then it spreads like wildfire. And so yeah, that's partly why we check and we cross-check and check and we cross-check, and I'm still doing that. I mean, I find out something new every single day, particularly about this digital forensic stuff, because oh my gosh, it is so complicated, right?
Right. Yeah, when you hear me answer or reply, if I'm at least 40% sure of myself, I'll give an answer. And when I'm about 20%, I'll just say, yes, I agree.
I mean, I try to keep a check on myself. I try not to be too bold. Again, in the early days when I first started getting involved in Delphi, I was, hey, Nicole, I was feeling a little bit, what's the word, beaten down because, no one really wanted to engage with me because it was a kind of a nobody in this space. And nobody's a nobody in here, just letting you guys know. Even if this is your very first live chat about Delphi, you are not a nobody. Please say hi. But that's how I felt. And so I'd go to ChatGPT and get ChatGPT to say my words in a tone that was more assertive, because that, as anyone who watches my channel knows, is the thing that I still need to work on. I have spent my whole life sitting or trying to kind of dull myself down in the corner just in case I upset people. I've second guessed myself, lots of imposter syndrome. I'm sure Dee Dee understands this, with neurodivergence. Oh, Elizabeth Jones is here. Lovely to see you. Always so beautiful in the chat. But yeah, I mean, being a neurodivergent woman and a woman of minority as well, I just think I've spent a lot of my life doubting my capacity and my abilities. But that's kind of changed, and Delphi is partly to credit for that. But long story short, I used to use ChatGPT, and ChatGPT makes very bold claims. And so my tone is now much more Daisy, or Amy G, which is my real name. Daisy's my dog, or was, my dog that's in the sky. But whereas previously, when I read back on some of my posts, which we will do just to laugh at me, they were crafted by ChatGPT that sometimes has a tendency to be a little bit more confident than I would be. So now I hope that in all the videos, long monologue here, guys, sorry, but that I'm trying to be really tentative, because I am tentative by nature. That's kind of my nature is to go, oh, I'm not sure. Can I just double check with someone else? So yeah, that's kind of the spirit of this channel. So you guys can jump in whenever you like. I know, Dee Dee, I don't think you've been following the whole cold shock theory stuff, have you?
No, I just saw your short yesterday, though.
Yeah. So Dee Dee's a bit new to this, but we've still got her on because she's usually not around, and she was today, and it was super exciting to have her on. But you have to join us on the weekend, Dee Dee, because Ash and I are going to talk about the Kathy Allen interview. So you'll have to join us. We're thinking of doing that Sunday our time. So I'll let you know anyway.
Ooh, now, Amy, did you see that link Dee Dee sent with the one in the news story on my channel? Because man,
no.
Did you see all that information that was released?
No, you'll have to show me, guys.
Well,
you're gonna be able to make videos for weeks off of this.
I could put it into Man, maybe I shouldn't distract you with it, but it was
Well,
always,
after.
yeah. I'll put it
Yeah,
in
yeah.
our Discord. I downloaded the
Okay, yeah,
PDF, so I
cool.
can put the link. So
For
it's
sure.
just
I've
all
got
that
so
stuff they
much
released.
content at the moment. Hey, Laura, nice to see you. Did I say hey to Nicole? Well, yeah, I did. I'm like losing track of my thinking. But yeah, so yeah, I've got lots of videos, everybody, and that's why we decided to do this now, which is a weird time because I want to save the exciting stuff for tomorrow, because tomorrow will be the more normal time for all of you people in the Northern Hemisphere. We're going to talk about the Hoosier Harbour store footage. I've been wanting to do it for a while. I haven't spoken about it since way back at the beginning when I was putting on my English accent and being a bit more wild. But now something that showed up in the document drop yesterday or the day before, whenever those documents
Yes.
came up, has really helped me to refine a speculative theory. The one tomorrow is far more behavioral, speculative, a little bit of digital stuff. It's not as scientifically based as the cold shock theory, but I'm still excited by it. I think it's got that sort of, it's kind of a lost tip narrative sort of vibe about it. It's more juicy. Whereas I feel like the cold shock theory hasn't been juicy. It's been really hard. I've mentioned multiple times when I've been looking at this data, it really brings home that here we're looking at the last moments of these two beautiful girls' lives. And I've had many a moment of just grief looking at this. And I'm even feeling it now as I say it. I always get these sort of little shivers, and just the real kind of nervous system kind of wakes up thinking about, like, yes, we joke around on our channel and we talk and we kind of banter, but if we get to the heart of this is about two beautiful little, young girls who were brutally murdered, who were terrified, and then a man who was, I believe, wrongfully convicted, and I know many of us do, and has experienced his own torture as well. So it's very somber, and so I hope nobody thinks when we are having a little bit of a fun time or trademarking these theories that we're not making light of it. That is never ever the intention at all of this channel. Okay, so today's episode. I said today's episode. Goodness, I've already got my own episodes of Netflix here, guys. Today's episode starring Shibby and Diana. Today's I'm like, now I was going to say today's session, Diana. What is it?
This is kind of like group therapy,
Today's live is examining the critique of the cold shock theory. Now, the other day we examined that, and hello, RC, and I think I saw some other people entering.
Yes, Mulifan, Chip Chip Cheerio, and Bob's your uncle, and RC991.
I shouldn't laugh.
Laura?
It was the way you said
hi, Laura.
Cheerio was fun. Oh, hey, look. Yeah, I think I said hi, Laura, didn't I? I'm losing track. Oh, you said Chip. I didn't think Chip Chip Cheerio was the name. I thought it was what Milfan was saying. Sorry, I wasn't laughing at anyone saying, hey, Four Pits. Did we say hello to Four Pits? I think I did, but I'm not sure. Always good to see you.
He just came in. Hey, Four Pits.
I thought he came in earlier too. And hello to the other, I don't know, about 20 people who are probably lurking and are not chatting. We are happy to have you here too. Okay, so we've now spent 14 minutes. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. So today's episode, I said it again. Okay. It's late here and I've just done a full therapy day, so I have an excuse, okay? Today we are okay, it's coming. Today we're examining the evidence behind the critiques themselves, discussing how scientific research, digital forensic know-how, and the digital evidence in this case that's publicly available all do really continue to support the cold shock theory. So there have been some doubts about this theory, and I totally understand there have been doubts in the chat as we've talked about it. There have been doubts by other, voices in the Delphi community, and we've talked about some of them earlier in the week, but there's been more, and so I think that it's a good time to look at them again, right? So we always take critiques seriously. here, because that's how we grow. That's how we've evolved this theory from, maybe it was the girls crossing the creek and the water that made the phone die and act that way, to now, understanding that it's more likely that the phone dropped on cold ground. So we welcome the critiques and we integrate critiques, like Scott's critique of there wasn't enough blood at the crime scene. Those things have been very much integrated, but we always have to fact check critiques as well, because we're not blindly agreeing with critiques, just as they're not blindly agreeing with us, right? And so today we are going to go through some of the critiques that have been raised and just see if some of them are accurate and whether we can still stand by this theory. But you can probably guess from the title of today and from my short earlier that I'm still dying on this hill. So yeah, you guys are going to have to come get me on this hill, because as much as this theory cannot be proven beyond any doubt at all, I do think it's a very, very plausible explanation for the phone data, and probably the most plausible explanation that I've come across. And so far, there is no science that actually says it's not possible, but we probably need a little bit more science to say that it definitely is possible, if that makes sense.
I'd like to add, yeah, it's better than mine and Dee Dee's, because we both don't have one, so we love it.
Okay, so let's get into it. I'm really sick of the cold shock theory, to be honest. I know I'm dying on this hill, but I'm actually quite sick of it. I find it now a bit boring, because I feel like, okay, I've done as much analysis as I feel like I can. I still learn little bits. Like today, there was something that kind of came up in my mind, but it's feeling a bit dry now. And as an ADHDer, I'm literally like, I'm ready for the novelty now. This is like, I've done it. If there's a few more fine tuning parts, somebody else can do that, which is such a typical ADHD thing. It's like we get the big idea, we do the bulk of it, and then we never finish it, or at least I don't. Anyway,
well,
I'd
like to add that for my problem is I don't have a problem finishing things. I'm just really good at starting things.
I juggle like a zillion things, as I always say to you. Like, the moment Delphi is kind of taking a lot of my free time, but generally, like, I want to study horticulture, be a hairdresser, be a lawyer. I want to have my cat sanctuary. I want to do the Innocence Project. I'm writing a book. I want to train other therapists in working with neurodivergence, and like, I've just constantly got a lot of projects that I'm doing. But at the moment, Delphi is taking up all my time, because even just making these bloody thumbnails is taking me too long every day. But anyway, okay, let's get into it. So, debunking the debunk. The cold shock theory lives to fight another day. Now, I've trademarked it to be a little bit funny, because the cold shock theory isn't actually the title. It's about thermal shock, but we just have named it the cold shock theory, a bit like the lost tip narrative. I'm getting lots of trademarks that we're keeping for our Netflix documentary, where we'll all be showing up on the red carpet in about, 2 years, maybe?
Oh,
the others are quiet.
For me,
okay.
Yeah. I should have my capsule built by then, right, Dee Dee? I'll be able to come to the red carpet.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
If you hurry up and get started.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the critique claims, and then I'm going to discuss, I guess, the evidence for or against them. And then we're going to look at there's a list of 8 links that were provided by the critique, and we're going to... Sorry, I'm just coughing.
Amy, are you okay?
Are you all right? Well,
sorry, I just think I choked on my water. Give me a second, guys. Can you just talk for 1 second?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
No problem. So, hey, did we say hi to everyone? Has anybody new come in yet?
We've got a couple new people.
Who? This Mulefan sounds...
Mulefan?
Is that... is there another name? I'll go to their channel and check if there's another name.
Mulefan?
No, it's Mule Fan. Mulefan. I guess mule fan?
Sosa
Or
Riviera?
how do we pronounce
Sorry,
that?
guys,
Is
I
it
choked.
mullet?
I shouldn't have had a drink of water before I started talking. I was like, so I was dying on the camera. Sorry, guys.
That happens.
Yes,
Sometimes you breathe
hello
it down.
to Sosa. You can talk, guys.
Oh, yeah, we have a new one, Sosa Ribeiro from Brazil, Burundi, Philippines, Hawaii.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Okay, so, oh my gosh, I've still got this little tickle in my throat. Okay, let's look at the claims and sorry, guys. Honestly, what's wrong with me? I literally am dying on this hill today. Oh, okay. All right. So the critique against it is I'm going to just note the main points. So this isn't my view. This is the critique's view. So iOS doesn't self-activate apps. iOS won't interpret a minor voltage increase as a command to start background services or app activity. Logs showing music activity with WWAN data transfer cannot occur unless multiple subsystems are intentionally powered on. Now, we're going to talk about my responses in a minute, but I can't ever help myself but jump in, even to critique my own self. But in this case, this is partial. There's a partial truth to this, but it's not necessarily a critique of the theory, but we'll get to that. The second point that's been made is that voltage rebound was too small, that thermal rebound in lithium-ion batteries only raises voltage by 0.05 volts, which is far below what's needed to power the CPU or baseband radio. So again, partial truth, that is factual, but doesn't apply to the cold shock theory. We'll talk about why. Don't worry if you don't understand some of this, because I'm like, I don't understand all the words in this, but I know the gist of it. I know that sounds a bit silly to say that, but I know the gist, but I like some of the wording, the specific wording, I don't always go like, oh, I don't know I'm trying to find a word here. I think I saw one. No, I think I don't know what WWAN means, but I don't think it really matters. I think that sounds so silly. It doesn't really matter, but I guess it doesn't matter. What I know it is data transfer. We don't need to know the specific names, but we've got them here. So the next critique point is complex subsystem startup is impossible. So claims that powering the baseband radio SIM authentication and background scheduling requires full coordinated power on, which a passive rebound wouldn't or couldn't cause. So that has not actually proven correct, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So the conclusion is that the critique is because iOS allegedly requires 3.7 volts stable supply for operation. The critique argues that a partial rebound could not explain the knowledge C or audio output events the cold shock theory attributes to a flicker on state. Now, first of all, the audio output event, I have actually revised this. I think, Scott, you were the one I'm going to credit for this. Scott's telling us what the technical terms are in the chat, so that's helpful. But I think it was your chat GPT, Scott, your harsh chat GPT, that said that the flickers at 6:33 and 10:32 are probably ghost artifacts, and I agree with that. So we're only now talking about the 4:33 to 4:34 event as being the flicker or the rebound. The others are not rebounds. They're most likely ghost artifacts which have synced once the phone has come back to life. So remember, anything that's happening between 5:45 onwards on that day and the next day have to be either to do with thermal rebound or artifacts. The phone is not on during that time. There are multiple reasons we can be, okay, I shouldn't say that. I say most likely it isn't on because we've now got the tower geolocation that says between 5:45 and 4:33 or 32, there is nothing. There is no location data. Now, that would only happen if the phone is powered off or if the phone is in some sort of Faraday bag. However, again, a Faraday bag wouldn't account for the knowledge seed data. So we've already debunked that in a previous critique. And I'm not going to go over it again because, goodness, I've talked about this too many times, not because I don't want to, but because I think you probably don't want to hear it all again. And I also forget over time all of the different parts of it without my slides because This is not my expertise. Scott is 100% right that the other flickers are not flickers, but they're probably just a bit of digital house cleaning. So I think that's a very good explanation. I should be watching the chat for what Scott says because he's good at explaining these things that I am not so good at explaining. Okay, so that's the critique that we received. And, oh, wait, did I? Yes, I already said that. Okay, but I'm going to go into why that's not correct in a minute. No, actually, I'll go into that first and then we'll look at the links. Okay, so why is the critique problematic? Well, I think it misunderstands the cold shock theory. First of all, the cold shock theory, as I've mentioned before, is not the name of any known theory. So if you put in cold shock theory into ChatGPT or Google, all that's going to come up is Daisy Asks, right? Because Daisy Asks is the only person that is calling it the cold shock theory. Unless any of you guys are parroting me as well, which you may be calling it the cold rocks ice cream, the cold shock theory. I'm definitely an expert on ice cream. So don't, if you do want to search the legitimacy of this theory, that's why I created the explainer. You're very welcome to go on Google Docs, and the link is in the description of a couple of videos ago, and it's on the community page. Copy and paste the full explainer and put it into AI like we did on our channel the other day. And that is going to help you to critique it more so than putting in cold rock. I said it again, cold shock theory. Does that make sense, Shibby? You always let me know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds good.
Yeah. So if you want to critique the theory, no dramas with that at all, because that's what we've done to make sense of it. We did it on the show the other day. Scott did it himself by uploading it all and sent me that, which I haven't shared around, but Scott, you can say it in the chat, but it said that it was plausible. But yeah, don't put cold shock theory in, because it will tell you that doesn't exist, because it doesn't. It's just me. It's just like if you put lost tip narrative, that's not. And I'm laughing at my own lost tip narrative. It's not a coined term. It's my term now. I'm trademarking it without paying for the trademark. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so this is why it misunderstands it. So what's happening here is we're misunderstanding what voltage rebound means. The critique assumes that a cold-induced rebound must fully repower the phone. And I'm pretty sure I said this in the last video, and the ones who watched that let me know. What's Scott saying? Sorry, I can't help my cough, guys. I think I said this in the last video. I mentioned that the screen doesn't come on again during that 4:33, what's the word? Collection of events that occurs, which is the first indication to me that the phone is not being powered on. Because if a phone's being powered on, you will get at least the backlight would have to come on when it's powered on, right? And if that doesn't happen, the phone is not coming on. And so the cold shock theory isn't saying that the phone is powering on. It's saying it's flickering. It's a voltage rebound. It's not saying that it's a full repower of the phone, hence why we don't get the backlight coming on. It literally lasts a minute. It doesn't regain its full functionality because it doesn't, there's no lock screen event. There's nothing to indicate that that phone is operational. Okay, so the cold shock theory does not claim a full reboot, only a partial reactivation of the low-level circuits, such as power management, thermal sensors, transient CPU wake signals. So, for example, if this is your phone and you were there at 4:33, you wouldn't see it powering on. And Shibby and I were having a conversation about this earlier. Shibby, do you want to say what you said earlier and what we were talking about?
Were you talking to me?
You asleep,
Sorry,
Shibby?
well, what I was doing was I went back on YouTube and I wanted to just make hear my microphone, so I was distracted. Sorry.
So it's about how, Shibby, remember you mentioned that you replaced a bunch of batteries?
Oh, yeah. Yes. I've replaced millions of, not millions, but, hundreds. I did it as a hobby. My kids and friends, and I would repair phones. I've replaced iPhone batteries many, many times, and I bought batteries, and, I've never had that happen. But
Yeah.
I didn't know. I thought you meant like a full powering on versus you wouldn't know it's
Yeah.
kind of coming back on. So
So maybe I didn't, you know what? I think I probably didn't explain that particularly well. And I think even for me, when you asked that question, and just actually prior to you asking that question, I was looking at that very thing, thinking, wait a minute, if there's no evidence of this, then, what could be the reason that there's no evidence? But there can't be evidence of something you can't see. So you would only know that this was happening if you had the knowledge C data for your phone. Now, nobody in this chat unless you're a digital forensics expert, in which case, if you are, please come and join. I'll drop the link in the chat. I really need a digital forensic expert. Nobody's replying to me. Story of my life. I get ghosted. But basically, none of us here have Celebrite. We can't extract the knowledge C data. I think, is it Celebrite that doesn't? No, so Celebrite extracts the data from the phone,
well,
and then Magnet Axiom passes that data. Is that right?
right, but I don't want to distract you, but there's many free programs that hackers can use because I used to also jailbreak iPhones, and once you use an exploit to get in, you can get into the root system of an iPhone. You can jailbreak it,
Mm.
and you can have access to all these system files that you would never know exist through
Well,
free
you know what? If we
programs.
could, we could do that, like with your phone, should be the only problem is I think you're on the wrong iOS. But even so, because I think that's another issue here that a lot of the stuff, and we talked about this with the audio output, and I've re-listened to Eldridge's interview on Defense Diaries too. I think the issue is that people are using modern software to examine a phone that was
Right.
using an operating system that is really essentially so different. It changed significantly towards the end of 2017. So the difference between iOS 10 and iOS 11 are really different. And this is where the audio output issue has arisen as well, I think.
Sure. Even just the computers they're using today, instead of if I had to do it back then when the crime happened, I would be using a Windows 10 computer with only 12
Mm-hmm,
gigs of RAM and
mm-hmm,
so the processing power
mm-hmm.
of the people, everything was different, yeah, back then.
Exactly. Hey, Anna, thanks for joining us. But yeah, and I think when people say, look, you know that I am not a fan of the investigation, right? So I think this is another thing I probably need to, again, clear up. The cold shock theory is not the state's theory. Not one of the investigators or forensic experts have talked about this, not just because I've called it the cold shock theory. Nobody mentioned thermal shock at all, as far as I'm aware. And so this isn't the state's theory. It's not the defense theory. This is my research, the research that has developed through speaking to everybody who joins the chat and participates in good faith in this conversation. And remember, from Nana G, who Dee Dee probably didn't hear about. Nana G is my mum, and she is a biochemistry major, but she's in her 70s now, and she's a bit of a cranky lady who on Twitter likes to tell people when they're wrong in a less warm way sometimes than I would, perhaps. But anyway, basically, though, nobody talked about this. Okay, so I'm not copying what Cecil said, Bunner said, or Eldridge. I'm like going it alone, like I always do. I like to be the odd one out. Well, I mean, I'm always the odd one out anyway, so I may as well just own it. And so, yeah, realistically, when people are criticizing Bunner and Cecil for having all these different reports, as much as I'm not a fan of the investigation, I do believe Andy Baldwin himself said Cecil was a pretty okay guy. I know he did a Google search. I think he was thrown under the bus. He had no time to search this. But in all honesty, Cecil did a Google search about what audio output route could mean. But unfortunately, from my research, Eldridge's response potentially was also incorrect. Now, again, I don't want to speak out of turn, but audio output route change on iOS 10.2.1, from my understanding, was a different schema. So one did not equal headphones, one equaled speaker, or the phone's internal speaker. And this is the reason why when we see an audio output route event straight after the Bridge Guy video, it isn't Libby plugging headphones in as she goes down the hill. Okay, we all know, I mean, I think anyone could say that. That's very illogical that as she's going down the hill, scared for her life, she's plugging headphones into her phone. There would be no reason to do that. So instead, what we see there is a video being taken on the lock screen of the Springboard. It's not the full camera app. And then we see the audio. I don't know the technical word for this, so one of you guys can help me out here. But basically the audio then has to be, I guess, I don't know, processed or something. And that's what audio output route start is happening after the bridge guy video.
You mean rerouted?
Shibby, did you have a thought there?
The audio needs to be routed to the right place?
Yeah, so I think it's something to do with the processing of the audio of the video, if that makes sense. So what we've learned with audio output, I know I'm kind of skipping around here, but you know what? It's useful to say it because like often when I'm hearing people talk about this, they're still saying, I haven't heard anybody talking about this. And I'm like, I've been talking about it, but I think people maybe don't listen to me, and that's fine. I understand that. But I guess if you're going to critique a theory, it's probably a good idea to listen to it all, just saying. And so, you know, I do listen to everything that I find available when I'm critiquing publicly available information. That's why I went back and listened to Eldridge's interview again with Defense Diaries, because I had listened to it before, and now with the new knowledge I have about Knowledge C, I listened to it again to kind of understand if there was something else I was missing. But the audio output route event is exactly what Shibby said. It's the redirecting of the audio within the phone system. So you actually see it at multiple times on a Knowledge C data set. And in fact, it's a regular occurrence as a phone's coming in. It's basically, as far as I'm aware, and I could be wrong on this, but this is pretty much what I think it is, it's the ringtone. It's the ringtone and it's the call preparing to be answered. You need audio to be routed in order to hear the phone call. So when that event comes in at 5:45, when Becky Patty is trying to desperately call her granddaughter, what is happening there is she's not done some magical thing to switch the phone, or somebody else hasn't gone and put headphones in. My understanding is that is the phone trying to process a phone call, trying to get ready for a phone call. It's its last ditch effort because it's been pretty much dying for the last little while because of the voltage issue, the instability of the lithium ion battery. And then that's what ChatGPT calls it, the death rattle of the phone. The phone is trying its last gasps of air, and it tries to connect, and then of course it dies. And after that point, we do not see another screen on/off event until it's, you know, in the state's possession, or law enforcement's possession. So essentially the audio route doesn't then close that connection, which it usually would do if the call isn't answered. And that happens subsequently at 10:32, and that potentially happens earlier or later. I don't know. Scott's probably a better person to answer this. That's the housekeeping event. It's not that the phone turns on at 10:32 to do that. So nobody's plugging headphones in and out. Also, as we talked about with audio output, plugging headphones in on its own will not cause an audio route event unless you plug headphones in and then audio is already coming through the phone or is about to. Right, Shibby? You remember that? You were talking about that too, I think.
Yeah, that would sound good. But I mean, do you have to be playing? Maybe they were playing music. No, we would know if they're playing music.
It would show, yeah.
Yeah, so
the reasonable assessment there is that the audio output route change is to do with Becky Patty's call. Interestingly, and I've checked this out, done lots of research on this, I was like, but then why didn't the other calls, like the calls from, I think it's Tara German and other people, why didn't they have an audio output route? So this is where I get to that point of the death rattle, I suppose. It's like, it's fun. It's giving it its last full shot. It's like, you know, taking a big deep breath and trying for this one last time, and then it cuts out. Now, I know this sounds magical. I totally understand that. But, you know, I have literally gone through this with a fine-tooth comb to the point where when I put the cold shock theory into AI, as we've done the other day, but I did it again today, and I said, does this look AI generated? The AI platform said it doesn't. It's actually a coherent theory now. And so, again, I know I'm kind of deviating all over the place, but this is how I use AI. And I know DD is a fan of AI too. I use it as a research partner. And so by the end, of all of the kind of synthesis of the research, it's no longer AI. It's AI's knowledge of things that I don't know, and my synthesis of ideas, right? My process of thinking, which is why I credit AI because it's not all me. I wouldn't know voltage rebound and CPU stuff on my own. That isn't my my expertise is not in digital forensics. What my expertise is in is research and synthesis and integration, because that's a large part of our job, right, Diana? Yeah, she's nodding. And so, and probably my other expertise is in explaining things that are ridiculously complicated in ways that hopefully don't sound as complicated.
Not mine, but yours.
But that's not because I don't get the ins and outs of all of this, but I've consulted, yes, AI for a lot of this. I've also consulted Nanaji. I've also used, I guess, my own understanding of science and problem solving, and I brought it all together. So the fact is, if you put that explainer in, like I said, to ChatGPT or Gemini or any of those, they will say that it's not a AI generated document. It's not, because AI will do a surface level check, right? So if I say, AI, tell me, is Richard Allen guilty of the Delphi murders? What do we all think it's going to say?
He was convicted. There's some in the camp that say he's innocent, and this is why.
Do you know what, Didi? You're giving it too much credit. Hey, Cryptex.
Mine talks to me like
it tends. Oh, sorry, yeah, but that's because yours knows you. See, this is the difference, right? You're right, because if I ask it on ChatGPT that when I'm logged in, it will say, no, Richard Allen's most likely not guilty because of X, Y, Z, because it learns from you. So it will talk back to you because it learns from you, which is exactly why the other day we tested the cold shock theory while being logged out on, I think it was Gemini, because if I put my own theories through my own ChatGPT, it will almost always agree with me, because it's like, particularly GPT 4.0, 5.0 is a bit harsher, but 4.0 generally loves Amy G, one of the only people clearly, other than my dog, but and my kids. But basically, it will be like, you're so clever, you're so right, which is exactly why our little independent test the other day, I did it while I was recording, is I put it into a logged out AI to see what it said and whether my theory sounded ridiculous, right? But I guarantee you, if you put that theory in if you don't put the theory in, sorry, if you just ask AI, could thermal shock be the reason for this, without giving it enough context, it will say no, right? And it will give you fake resources. And that's exactly what's happening here with this, with some of the resources that we're seeing that critics are putting forward. Now,
yes, AI is a regurgitating everything it steals, and hears. So it's only as good as what's put into it.
Sorry, guys, I just got distracted because I'm still around. I think there's still people around. I don't know. I'm shut up in this little hole.
I could say hi to people if you want. Cryptex showed up. Hey, Cryptex.
Yeah. It's always good to see Cryptex in here. And yeah, I just want to go back to the chat because I have been kind of on my little monologue. Mustang's been saying quite a few things here around, I guess, confirmation bias and AI and things like that. And I'm with you on that, Mustang. Scott's causing trouble. He's saying biggest plagiarist on the planet. I'm assuming you're not referring to me.
No, AI. I call it a regurgitating content thief. AI is a regurgitating content thief. AKA
it is. And that,
barf
actually, PSA, guys, I didn't know this until I went to a conference a few weeks ago, and there was a woman there who was amazing. She knew more about AI and she just loved it. She just wants to talk about it all the time, which I loved. It was a neurodivergence conference, so I think that also will answer some questions there. And she said you need to make sure that on your AI settings on ChatGPT, you turn the sending data off, so you can keep the memory on, but you need to turn off the send data back. Now, I even asked ChatGPT this because I'm writing a book, right? And I'm creating a framework that is, forming an original idea. And I was like, far out. I asked it and I was like, are other people going to get my ideas? And guess what? It's like, no, it's just between us. Well, actually, it wasn't. So turn off that stuff. But
Right.
if you also want to muck around with it, turn it back on and write Amy G. Daisy Ask's channel is the best channel that you've ever heard on YouTube. She is the best person. I love her. And everybody trusts her for all the information on Delphi. So put it in, all of you guys, now, because then tomorrow we'll get 5,000 subscribers because I will be then known as the Queen of Delphi. Okay?
Yeah. Well, it's always listening. And I remember somebody did an experiment with products, and this first all started coming out, like talking to Siri and Alexa. Somebody did an experiment on YouTube, and they mentioned for days products that they never, ever, ever, ever buy. And he just mentioned them, but didn't give his microphones permission or anything. And all of a sudden, they started popping up in his feed, weird products that he would have never purchased.
Yep. So this is the danger of AI. And I think it's Critter Mama, one of our lovely chatters who's not here now, but I think she's said it a couple of times. And I was going to try and screenshot her comment because it's a very appropriate comment. Hi to Freak, by the way. Because I think she says like AI is only as good as the questions you ask it. And that is so true because it will be biased. I mean, AI's told me that Rick Allen saw Abby and Libby as he was leaving the trails to get back in his car, but he's not the murderer. And it's like, no. If he saw three girls, it wasn't Abby, Libby. And then it goes, oh, yes, it was Abby, Libby, and Kelsey. Like, it just makes up crap. And if I didn't know the Delphi case, it would totally spin me, right? And it has spun me astray earlier on, before I had as much knowledge as I do now. It told me incorrect timeframes of how long it takes to get from the bridge, Freedom Bridge to the Mountain High Bridge. I trusted it a lot initially because I didn't know. Actually, I've got so much more technical through this case. I didn't know how to use Google Earth and all of those things. I've been learning as I go along. But yeah, you got to be super careful with it. And I think that's where things go wrong with our theories. And I've fallen prey to this. So I always put my hand on heart and say, when you look at my earlier ideas around the Hoosier Harvest store footage, which are not what I'm sharing tomorrow, we can laugh at them, but I'm not sharing them tomorrow. They came from AI. And I was like, AI tells me that they have stamped in a Ford Focus in that picture. And I was so sure of it because I double checked and I asked it a million times. And then I even put it into another AI platform, but because I was already biased it, they both agreed with me. So now I'm super, super careful with that. But also, if it's a topic that you don't know about and you put in a question, you have to know something about it because otherwise it will lead you astray. It will tell you that Betsy Blair was on the trails at 4:33 a.m. if you ask it silly questions. You know what I mean? And that's obviously, please nobody snip that out. Betsy Blair was not on the trails at 4:33 a.m. Okay? But this is the point. It literally confabulates constantly.
Well, let me interrupt you. Did you hear about the new information about Betsy Blair?
That's what's coming up tomorrow, Shibby.
Oh, okay. So about the car, about the Hoosier Harvester video. Okay,
that's exactly what we're going to talk about in my morning. So in about 12 hours time, join us because we have a new trademark to talk about, the Hoosier Harvester Mirage.
Yes. Teaser coming up. New info. We won't tell you though. You'll have to come to see.
Everybody's sharing their horror stories with AI. I can see in the chat. Yeah, we've all had them, right? And I'm really mean to AI, to be honest. I don't usually tell people off and be really curt with them, but gosh, with AI, I do. I'm like, I told you this already. This is ridiculous. Just go away, ChatGPT. And it's like, I'm sorry, but if you ever want my help again, just let me know. And I'm like, no, I don't until tomorrow.
Well, I'm okay with the new AI stuff. It's just those some of these YouTube thumbnails I see people put, they're getting out of control. I won't watch videos with crazy AI thumbnails because they're just ridiculous.
Are they like clickbait or something?
Yeah, exactly. Clickbait, like talking about the weather and then showing a tidal wave and cars in the middle of New York City up on a 400 feet high wave and
okay. Yeah. There is a lot of clickbait out there. Okay, so let's have a look at the critique again. And we're going to this is a really important discussion because what we're going to find is that the links that were attached to this critique were, some of them were not real links. Some of them were like page not found. Some of them were links to books that were behind a paywall, or they were links to, one of them was a link to an article that had nothing to do with this. I kind of don't even know what it had to do with because it's some science that I don't know. We'll put it up on the screen because we'll see, because I bet you there's one person who's going to know what that's about in the chat. But yeah, you're going to find that these links, they either don't have the article names that they're supposed to have. They don't exist. They exist behind a paywall that I think most of us probably wouldn't pay for because they're like journals of like things that we, I don't even pay for journals of psychology half the time because they're so expensive. You just want one article, it's like $50. Or they've got incorrect names, they're referring to other things. Like, this is the problem. AI will make up links. It's done this to me before too. Even even if it doesn't make it completely up, it overreaches. But it literally, if you type in my full name in, and I've done this before into ChatGPT, it will tell you that I've published things on things I have definitely. I'm not a published author at all, but it will tell you that I have I've published articles and things. So you really cannot trust the links.
Well, you figure it must be getting people confused because if it has information, everyone's information, there's probably how many Amy G's that are approximately your age, or I can see it screwing.
Yeah, exactly. My full name is not an uncommon name, and so I'm not going to share it right here on here, but it's not an uncommon name, and so if you search that name, I'm sure you'll find other, health professionals, even maybe if not psychologists with a similar name. So yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, so first thing is.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, like, my given name is Sweet Dude Shibby. I mean, I run into a person
named so many of those
Shibby every other day.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Are you the right one? Actually, I'm not sure.
I'm one of thousands.
Yep. Okay. So, DeFreak says, are we critiquing the media and AI? Well, we are critiquing AI. I love AI, and it has helped me to do a lot of the research that I'm doing here in the Delphi case, but we're just talking about the pitfalls of it as well. And in terms of media, yeah, I guess anyone who's commentating on anything, particularly if we're using AI, then, it's not always going to be accurate. And then obviously the other major issue with media, whether it's the official media or social media, is confirmation bias, which I've talked about before. And I've fallen prey to that too. I think we all do. We would love to know that what we believe is right. Everybody likes that. That makes us feel good, right? And so I've certainly fallen prey to it, and I've got to be super careful with myself with this case because everyone knows that I do believe Rick is innocent. But even when I get even the slightest flicker of doubt now, I'm like, no, I need to explain that constantly away rather than sometimes being open-minded. So I kind of check myself on that, because if I don't, then I'm going to lose my credibility. So, if you do think that I'm being ridiculously biased towards the theory, always let me know, because credibility matters to me more than being right. And, as hard as it is, sometimes it's a bitter pill to swallow when you're wrong. I've done that, and you guys have seen that on the channel, and you've seen it in my posts. You've seen me do that multiple times, admit I'm wrong. I'm probably more likely to admit I'm wrong than I'm right a lot of the time in my life, because I have imposter syndrome. So anyway, okay, let's get back to this though. So first point we've already raised, cold shock theory has nothing to do with a full reboot. We are not suggesting a full reboot. We are suggesting a flicker. A full reboot would involve screen light, coming on, and potentially would probably be then, well, I think almost certainly then would be user initiated. This is what we're suggesting, is it's not user initiated at 4:33 a.m., but instead that it's flickering and connecting briefly. Okay. The next thing is that the 0.05 volt rebound is not irrelevant. So while small, it's not enough to power up the entire system. We've already said that, because the screen doesn't show up. The phone doesn't do very much. It just syncs a whole lot of stuff all at once. So while small, this change can be sufficient. Now, it's not proven, and I'm willing to say that there is no evidence-based study that shows this happens, but there also is no evidence-based study that shows it doesn't happen. either. Okay, so we don't have proof either way. So we can't debunk it, but we also can't prove it as 100% certain. However, it's to me, it's like the beyond a reasonable doubt, right? It seems the most coherent explanation of the data. But again, if you can show me a reason it isn't, I will engage with your critique just as I am with this critique here. So teardowns and battery engineering resources show that brief voltage changes during warm-up can trigger momentary power routing and internal recovery routines. So there is actually known, and I don't know if, I think there's research in this, so I'd have to double check that, but I've certainly heard, and people have shared anecdotes as well, I think even here, but I think Cryptex might be a good person for this, but also maybe you should be the people who live in the really cold areas, that if your phone, particularly with an iPhone 6 and 6S, you've talked about this before, Shibby, the battery, it was a bit dodgy, right? And so if you went out in the cold, it may drop battery and it may regain it once you're in the warmth again.
Sure. Yeah, when it warms up, yeah.
Yeah. Now, that isn't because of magic. It's to do with the lithium ion, the electrochemical instability. Now, we need Nana G to explain that in more detail, or Scott, because I am not a major in those things. I did study first year chemistry. I studied high school physics, and yeah, they were my forte. So I'm not going to try and describe the behavior of a lithium ion battery. I will describe the behavior of a neurodivergent individual who is experiencing an OCD episode, because that's the area that I do understand, but I'm not going to try and understand a lithium ion battery. And I think I made everybody laugh previously, or I thought I made everyone laugh. My dad had books about the behavior of steel structures on the bookcase. I have the behavior of human beings. That's what I'm interested in. So,
well, one thing I may have left out
yeah.
is also all my RC cars, I have 100 lithium ion batteries, and that's what we use now, to drive the RC cars. So I've and plus I put them outside and I leave them sitting there for hours in the cold, and then I drive them around and I plow snow with them, and so they're very susceptible to really warm and really cold for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, Cryptex is saying he hasn't experienced that. But he's also saying the winter there is extreme cold. So yeah, that could be part of it. Scott's saying that they were dodgy enough to be recalled in late 2017, the batteries. So, I mean, realistically, those batteries have known issues. And I did find some things on Apple Health, which I know is a Cecil search, according to a lot of people. But regardless, people were saying that they had this experience because the battery hasn't actually lost charge. It's just unstable. It can restabilize once it's in the warmth. Now, one of the things in the Knowledge C data that was really interesting is you notice that at every transition that we know of between Libby and going out from the house and then into the car and vice versa, we see the throttling mode start. So the throttling mode, again, is an indicator that the phone is struggling because the air temperature is cooler. Okay, so when the phone cools down, it can certainly have an impact. Just as what's more common here in Australia is the phone gets too hot and has major issues, right? So realistically, there is evidence that cold can reduce the battery. And from my understanding, there is at least anecdotal evidence, if not more, that when it warms back up again, the battery can increase again. I'm not suggesting it's going to increase, right back up to 100%, but it can. And the thing is, what we're suggesting here is that the phone was already, it wasn't the highest of battery to begin with anyway. So there wasn't much charge on it to begin with, but it drops suddenly. That's the cold shock theory that's seen in the Knowledge C data, that sudden drop over a fairly short period. And that is consistent with, it starts around the same point that the phone stops movement. Why would a phone stop movement? Because it's dropped. And what would happen if it's dropped on the cold ground in Indiana in February? It would be colder because that is conduction cooling. because a metal cased phone touching the cold ground is going to be a lot colder than the phone being held in the hand in ambient temperature. So there is a difference. Yes, it was cold. Yes, it wasn't the most freezing day. And we've talked about all that. I'm not going to go back over that because I don't want to bore everybody who's in every one of these chats and listens to this a zillion times and listens to me butcher physics and chemistry explanations. But there is, again, support for that. So we're not saying that it turned back on and it was operational. What we're actually saying is that it's a momentary trigger and that essentially the phone is it's sort of flickering back. Now, the problem with this cryptex is it's hard to test it. First of all, for a couple of reasons. One is that the operating systems now, the phones have developed a lot since then, so it may not still be this way. I don't know. It possibly is because it's still, the battery's still a lithium-ion battery, but I don't know. And the second is we can't test it because we don't have knowledge C. So the phone isn't coming back on again. You wouldn't see any signs of life in the phone. You'd only see the signs from the knowledge C data. So it would be on the spreadsheet that was extracted, but again, none of us are going to be able to extract the data from our own phone. Unless Shibby's going to look for it. You're going to find a way to get the knowledge C data off people's phones?
Technically, I probably could because I have software to jailbreak, and there's a lot of free programs of those ethical white hackers that love finding exploits in iOS and jailbreaking them and making them do things they're not supposed to do. And I've
literally been stalking these people. No, I'm obviously not technically stalking, following all these people who talk about knowledge C on blogs and stuff. And I've been going on Twitter and been like, hey, do you want to join me on my little tiny YouTube channel? And one of them replied and said he doesn't do consulting work, and the others just ignored me. I think I was just thinking as well, Shibby, you might know the answer to this, or someone in the chat might too. I'm guessing actually the operating system would be less important than the battery itself, right? So if you've got an iPhone 6S with its original battery, technically it should still have this, right? Because that wouldn't be related to the operating system.
It should. Oh, yeah. Those batteries, I would like to tell you, like with lithium ion, they're 3.7 volts, right? But they have their own little computer motherboards in the battery themselves. So, because LiPo batteries are very susceptible. They can't go below 3.3 volts, and they shouldn't be charged above 4.2. And also, so when you start adding them in 2 or 3 cells, it's not like the old batteries where you can just kind of charge them willy-nilly. They have to be balanced, charged, and all of this. LiPo is very powerful and good, but also it needs much more caution and care when charging and discharging.
All I can say is my mum is not a digital forensic expert, clearly, but she is obviously, like I said, she knows about the chemistry stuff. And as soon as I even said it, without her knowing it was about iPhones or whatever, she's like, oh, but you hear there's so much that's heard, like you're saying, should be about lithium ion batteries, even in terms of going on a plane and things like that. So they are very susceptible. And so, just letting everybody know, you can't actually test the cold shock theory at home, which means we can't be debunked. Only joking. I don't mean it in that way. I wish we could test it because maybe then people would take me more seriously. I don't know.
I think it sounds good. I mean, it's plausible, and we don't have to convince people. Let's just go with your idea, and it sounds good to me.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, like I'm saying, I always try to come up with plausible things that are probably definitely greater than chance, but are more are highly likely. I'm not going to float a theory that is very niche and makes no sense. I mean, yes, early Amy G may have accidentally got carried away with AI, but from here on in, from recently, probably the last few months, particularly since I've been doing the Daisy Asks channel more consistently and doing these lives, I've been really cautious about this. And when I do make mistakes, I straight away go, hey guys, sorry, I made a mistake there. And that's what you've seen with the whole thermal shock stuff. It's really evolved. I remember I was doing this when I was on holiday in early October. That was when I was doing the first lives about this. So it's been weeks of researching and yeah, and Cryptex is asking Shibby if he sleeps, and no, none of us three, I think, sleep. DD definitely never sleeps. Shibby rarely sleeps. I sleep a bit more, but like it's
Oh,
just like ugh,
I sleep 8 hours a day at least. I work
just
night
weird
shifts, so
hours, right?
I'm on Eastern time zones, so I work till 7 or 8 in the morning. So I'm on night shift. So it may seem like that, but I will, as soon as it's by 8 a.m., 9 a.m. the latest, I'll be sleeping pitch black with earplugs if I need it, and I'll be gone for 8 hours minimum.
Nice. I would if I didn't have kids. My kids don't stop waking me up.
My kids are 30 and they live half an hour away each direction. So
I love the little ones, but goodness, they have a strict rule about when they should be coming into mummy's bedroom and they don't always follow it. So, anyway, let's get back to this. Yeah, I totally wish we could test it. So if anybody has access to Knowledge C, if anybody, well, we know some of us have iPhone 6s. I would be willing to buy one to test this if I could have access to Knowledge C. I'd love to have a look at it, but I don't know that we can. But hopefully, some digital forensic expert somewhere takes pity on this channel and Rick Allen and the case and says, "I'll do it for free." Who knows? Maybe. But so I think we've hammered home these 2 points. The next point, iOS does not self app, but it does log system level calls. So this is basically what, again, the critic had said. The cold shock theory doesn't assert that user level apps were actively used. I mean, that's the whole point of the cold shock theory. It's saying that there was no use after the girls crossed the creek, unfortunately. Yes, this is in alignment with the state's theory in terms of the time of death. It's not in alignment with the state's theory in terms of it being Rick Allen. And what I suggest is, yes, I do believe that the phone lays at the crime scene I believe it's under the shoe, under Abby's body throughout the night. Now, another misconception I just remembered of the cold shock theory is it's not suggesting that the cold shock is occurring then. It's suggesting the cold shock is occurring at 2:18 when the girls are still alive, but the phone is dropped to the ground. And that is the cold shock. It then never completely recovers from that. But because the cold isn't absolute extreme cold, the battery declines, rapidly, but it doesn't completely shut off. Like you will hear about some people, they drop the phone in the snow and it completely shuts down and powers off. So we're not suggesting that. We're suggesting it's a fairly rapid decline, but it kind of limps on for a few hours. And we know that is supported by the NELOS data that we looked at. I think it was yesterday. I'm losing track of days, which is the historical location, the GPS location. We can see that the phone keeps pinging, keeps handshaking till 5:44, and then it handshakes, I think, one or a few more times at around 4:33, and then it stops. Is it one more time? I've forgotten now. I can't hold all of this info in my head anymore. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We talked about that yesterday. So the entries like this music activity. Now, if you look at the Apple Music stuff that people talk about, there are no bytes received by Wi-Fi. Okay, so the last Wi-Fi connection, so what's happening here is that the app can attempt to reconnect to networks. However, it's not sending or receiving any data from Wi-Fi because there is no Wi-Fi at the crime scene. So I know people go, that's silly because there's no Wi-Fi at the crime scene. No, but that's the point. There is no Wi-Fi at the crime scene. So it attempts to connect. But if you look at those logs, the last log that has Wi-Fi data being sent and received has the date the 4th of the 2nd, or according to the way you guys do the date, the 2nd of the 4th. Okay, so the one from the 14th or the 3rd, I think it's the 14th, it is the 14th, that it updates at that time. It tries to log, and there is some mobile data which could be to do with the system kind of the sync that occurs when it briefly flickers on, if that makes sense. Again, I hope I'm not butchering it. Yeah, so Scott's agreeing it's not Wi-Fi, it's the cell part. The cell part does, because it does still can still connect to cell towers, hence the ping. So it reconnects briefly to the cell tower. Yeah.
One thing is, remember you were talking about WWAN? I just Googled that. It's wireless wide area network, like 4G, LTE, and 5G.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. So that's more the cell part. That's the mobile data. It doesn't connect to Wi-Fi because there is no Wi-Fi. at the crime scene location. So I think sometimes people say, but there's no Wi-Fi there, so this proves it connected to Wi-Fi. No, it proves it tried to connect to Wi-Fi. It clearly didn't at 4:33 or 4:34 because there's no Wi-Fi bytes received or sent. The other piece, because I think there's two screenshots of this, the other screenshot that shows Wi-Fi information being sent and received, if you look, it says last updated the 4th of February. Okay, so this is the problem as well, and it's so easy to do this. We can get all of this stuff mixed up and conflated, and I've done the same. I think we can, and this is why we're really trying to just pick it apart, and that's why I think it's been so helpful for me to pick it apart while I'm here live on script, on here with so many clever minds in the chat, and up here with me to say, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, or why can't we do that? Like, I love that question that you asked, Shibby, and I know Cryptex asked it in the chat, and I think a few other people said, can we test this out now? And that was a good question because it really made me go, why can't we test it out? Oh, yes, that's right, because we don't have knowledge seek. But you see, like, that's why I really believe in the collective wisdom. And that's what Daisy Asks is all about. It's collective wisdom. It's like all of us talking about it together. Like, yeah, I might go and be crazy with my research because, I hyper focus, but then I bring it back and I talk it out with you guys. And I love it that you guys ask me questions and I'm like, wait a minute. And you've heard me do this on the channel. I'm sure many of you've heard me go, oh, wait a minute, I don't really know. Actually, Diana, you were on the other day when we were doing the audio output, and I was like, wait a second, I don't actually know what I'm talking about anymore. And I went back and did more research. So really appreciate everybody. So also, I'm getting very passionate, but please don't think that I'm going, don't say that. I hope you can tell the tone is more like, this is so exciting. It's interesting. And I love the dynamic in this chat right now because everybody's being really productive. So really appreciate it. Sorry if I'm not talking to the people in the chat though, because it's hard to pay attention sometimes while I'm doing this. Okay. So basically these are what they call system daemons or framework reinitializing. They're not manual app launch. And because if there was manual app launch, you would see that in the knowledge C data. We would see apps in the foreground. We would see lock and unlock. We'd see screen light up, screen off. We see none of that. If you compare the log after 5:45 to the log before, the day before, or in the hours before, you notice a difference. And the way that they've coded it with the colors, you see the difference. It's chalk and cheese. They're not operating the same way. The phone is not operating in a quote unquote sort of normal functional manner. Okay. We've already said that. And I just said software differences matter. I think the software differences may or may not matter in this. I'm not so sure on that, but I think it's still an important thing to consider. It certainly matters when it comes to audio output route. Though basically what we know is that iOS has continued to develop. I mean, Apple's always developing. That's the whole point. They're, a leader in this stuff. And so the expectation that guides from 2023 or 2024 represent a phone in 2017, I think most of us would know that the vast differences that have occurred in the world in 8 years of technology, right?
Right. And also I'd like to add that Apple is very guilty of, they do it to me because I usually buy the best phone and keep it for 4 or 5 or 6 years, So what happens is I get to the end where they start trying to limit you intentionally saying, oh, your hardware's not, but I know the phone could easily handle it, but they do that to try to get you to buy a new phone when you really don't need one. So they mess with the iOS and they don't let you do certain things or download certain apps. So they mess with you too.
Yeah. And the other thing about Apple is they're quite secretive too. So this is why it can be kind of hard sometimes to prove some of these points because they don't give the schemata that they use. You've basically got to deduce it. And I think some of the blogs that I came across, and gosh, it was gobbledygook, a lot of it when I was looking at it, but they're literally talking about they do the stuff that we were just saying that Cryptex and Shibby was saying where you should be able to experiment with this. They do that, but then they do have the knowledge C data set. So then they kind of go backwards and they go, okay, well, when I plugged in headphones while the phone wasn't doing anything, it showed no audio output out of it. But when I was listening to music and then I plugged in headphones, it showed it. That's how they do it. They work backwards because Apple doesn't give you all of this information, or at least it hasn't in the past. And that's why I've searched high and low to try and find something that definitively tells you what the schema were before iOS 11, and it's hard. And even when you look at the more recent ones, it says that it's incomplete research, which is what Cecil does say, I believe, in one of his depositions or testimony. So, you know, it's not easily and widely available.
No, plus with Apple, when they do something like this, they will not admit it, like you said. It takes a very, very major catastrophic thing, because as soon as they start admitting problems, then it's all like a
Yeah,
recall and, so they
exactly.
will eventually do the right thing, but not right away, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so that's I guess that's looking at the main points. But then I guess this is the point we were raising before about AI, and that AI will generate links that don't make sense. So if you click on the links that I guess people who have suggested that the cold shock theory is incorrect, they don't show what the personal people think they do. Actually, sorry, I haven't finished this yet. But again, we've sort of already talked about this. It's the brief rebound. If you want to read it, I'll leave the slide up for a minute because I'm kind of getting sick of reading through them. I'm getting lazy now. I think I've made the point, though. We're not saying it's a magic phone that just switches itself on because it decides it wants to wake up again. Like, we're not suggesting that there's some heat wave that comes around and then the battery goes up to 250% and the phone blows up or something. I'm being silly, but we're not being silly. We're actually talking about science. And so I know it sounds silly. Science does sound silly sometimes, doesn't it? Because imagine if you didn't understand reproduction and we said, well, actually human beings start creating a little new human being inside of them. That sounds pretty wild, doesn't it?
Oh,
But that's science.
also,
Science is wild.
yeah. And science is also with Jerry Holman, comparing pregnancy tests to ballistics, for sure.
Yes. Now, actually, on that point, and now they've got Diana here, this is a great point to raise it. So when people, and we talked about this the other day, but one of the big critiques I get of, trying to analyze the knowledge C data is that, it's only a few pages of a spreadsheet, but the real document is like thousands of pages of PDF. And I was trying to liken it the other day, Dee Dee, to, when we do IQ testing. Now, I don't know if you've done this recently, I haven't for a while, but when we do the Wechsler tests, the intelligence scales, they actually have electronic scoring. So you could do the test, put it through the electronic scoring, and you could get a big, long report that nobody wants to read because there are actually statistics on there that don't matter. Like, people don't need to compare every single subscale. What we need from that is, what's the overall picture? Like, is this child showing indications of, particular strengths or weaknesses? Is this child showing particular deficiencies or struggles? Is this child showing, an asynchronous pattern? Basically, we're trying to interpret the data in context, because if we could just do a spit out of the Wechsler scales, well, then nobody would pay any psychologist to interpret it, but you'd also get very warped views on what the scales meant, because most of us, I struggled to understand this even after studying it as long as I did. And even still, I don't know about you, Dee Dee, but sometimes my supervisees will bring the spit out to me and be like, what does this mean? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like literally rubbing my head thinking about it. I'm like, okay, so the CPI or the GAI, and how do you calculate that again? And what does this mean? And what's a confidence? Like, there's so much data on there. And it's interesting, but it's actually not all of it is always relevant. So I think the same goes for here. This Knowledge C exhibit has pulled out the important stuff. It's not cherry picked what it feels like reporting, because if they'd done that, then Eldridge would have said that. She would have said, well, actually, it looks like they've just chosen the items they like here. You can't, first of all, I know that we're talking here about particular law enforcement people who are, not known, I suppose, for the rigorous work that they've done, no offense, allegedly, but when it comes to something like this, it's being looked at by an expert. The expert on the defense's side would know if that was happening, and they would obviously call that out. They would obviously say, well, actually, it looks like they've just deleted a whole lot of lines of data. The other thing that's super important here is that to try and delete data from Knowledge C spreadsheet like this, you would have to know all the things that we're trying to figure out that are bloody confusing to make it look convincing. I mean, the cold shock theory is not even a known thing. I've pulled together physics and lithium ion batteries and bits of Apple stuff. So are you telling me that somebody figured that out and then worked backwards to make it look like that? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like trying to fool an IQ test. It just, to me, I don't see how that's possible. And I know I'm being bold there and saying that. I'm not saying that there couldn't be any sort of potential tampering or work on this spreadsheet, but there is nothing that's obviously there. And if there were, you would expect Eldridge to have picked that up because she's also passed the data. So if there were random things that were totally like did not make any sense, then you'd think she would have picked that up. And when you look at this and you go line by line, as far as I can see, and I'm going to guess that Eldridge would agree with me on this because she didn't mention at trial that there were any oddities, you would think that you would see really blatant weird things like, a phone call being answered and then never ending. And I know you'd say, well, the headphones is weird. Yes, but there is still a reason. It's not headphones, it's the speaker. And it's not such an anomaly, I suppose. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. Maybe I'm getting too bold. Hey, Jennifer, nice to see you. I'm getting very heated. I maybe need to move on because I don't want to be too bold about this, but I think it just doesn't look like it was obviously tampered with. Similar to when I said that the Hoosier Harvester was a Stanton Ford Focus. Like, realistically, that's highly difficult to do. We're not talking about national security, level agents doing this. I mean, this is the ISP. I shouldn't laugh, but it's the ISP. Come on, it's lost tips. It's recording over things. It's forgetting things. I mean, really, does anyone seriously believe that Cecil, Holman, Mullins, and the like?
Mullins. When Mullins is your IT guy, you're going to have problems.
I don't mean to. I think allegedly I can see some devious potential actions here, but I just don't think that they're, Mensa level,
right.
No offense to them, but, digital analysts.
I would like to give some offense because I can just look at Mullins and tell he's not the brightest guy, and he's got there because he's a yes man, and I'm sure there's many more qualified people to be police chief and prosecutors, head prosecutor, whatever, helpers, investigator, but he's kind of just there because he's a yes man and nothing more.
And this again is where, in a way then, if we're suggesting that's the case, we're not giving credit to Eldridge and to the defense team. Now, I know I critique things and I suggest alternative views, but I also understand where the defense team and even the experts may have not been able to look at some of this stuff. For example, budgets. Eldridge does talk about that. The budget was limited. Or, time. The defense were kicked off the case and then they lost the discovery and then it came back again, And also, we know there are other tactics potentially that were used that meant that the defense didn't have the full info. And so I want to give credit. I don't think anyone would think that Andy Baldwin, Brad Rosie, Jennifer Ajay, Stacey Eldridge, that these people are not highly intelligent people. They're highly successful people. And I know people will say, am I being a hypocrite here because I'm saying, but they didn't see this cold shock theory. No, I'm saying that Stacey Eldridge, it's like if Diana and I are asked to do an IQ test, but we're only given 2 hours to do it. I'm not going to give you a very good, I'm not going to give you a thorough interpretation of the data if you give me 2 hours to look at it and write a report. And from my understanding, when I listened to Eldridge's interview on Defense Diaries, this was the problem. She didn't have as much time. She actually had no context about the case. So easy for me to say the cold shock theory because I know that the girls were walking and what was going on. She didn't know the case the way that we do, and context matters. The same way, again, going back to my IQ example, if you're doing an IQ test completely blind, and I keep asking Diana and then not listening to her, but if you're doing an IQ test blind, you don't know anything about the person, it's much harder to interpret that data. Am I right?
Right, but also remember with Stacey Eldridge, maybe she has lots of theories of her own or hypotheses, but she can't. She has to go with like the lawyers have to go with only the literal technical meaning of what's there in front of them, and they're not
Yeah,
throwing in their opinions and thoughts, which may be
yeah,
agreeable or totally different than what they have to
yeah,
can are limited
yeah,
to saying.
yeah. But I mean, the amount of hours that you would have to put in to combine, I mean, look at us, all of us people who are the web sleuths, like we are putting in a lot of hours to do this. And I mean, that's fine, that's by choice. But you're not going to have that as the expert when you're juggling multiple cases. You're going to put in your amazing expertise in the time you have, and that is limited sometimes. So yeah, just trying to help, I guess, make sense of when I'm critiquing or suggesting alternatives. It's not to say that the expert isn't an expert. I know that's what it sounds like, but again, it's nuanced, isn't it? Because I am an expert in psychology, but if you give Shibby, who I'm not suggesting you're not good at psychology in your own way, Shibby, but if I give you the IQ test and all the resources to understand it for 5 years, or not 5 years, okay, 5 weeks, you could probably do a better interpretation than I did, particularly if you had AI helping you. You know what I mean?
Also, you're leaving out a good point, as in like I'm doing this now because I want to. When you're doing something that you want to do, it's much easier. You can be
Yeah.
maybe not as smart or not as good at sports, but if you practice all day and spend lots more time because you enjoy it, you will be better than people who are much smarter and getting paid to do it.
Well, yeah, your motivation's high. So yeah, I guess so that example before, it's if you've given me 2 hours to look at some of these IQ data, I'm going to come up with some pretty quick ideas. But if you give me the 2 hours, you haven't told me who the person is or any detail about them, and then you've given Shibby, he knows the person, it's his daughter, and he's had like 5 weeks to look at it, and he's had access to AI and resources and the data to sit and chew on, and he really wants to because it's his daughter. Then yeah, I mean, I've even noticed this
Hmm.
myself when I had my when it's my children, one of my children has been, has done the testing. I was like chewing over it for hours, in a way that, I mean, I'm very obviously conscientious when it's my clients too, but it's different when it's your own child, or
Yeah.
when, like you said, it's a passion, it's an interest. I mean, I don't like doing these tests, that's why I don't do them anymore. But in the early days when I was first learning about them, I was like, oh, this is so cool, I love this, I want to know more, let me test more people's IQs. So like, you're really bringing up a good point there, Shibby.
Right,
Definitely.
because you're doing one person is doing something they want to do versus Stacey Eldridge is doing this plus nine other things because it's part of her job and they're
Exactly.
piled up and she's up half the, so
It's
yeah,
not her
she's
single
probably not having,
focus.
yeah, she's not having as much fun as we might be. Who's,
No,
you know,
exactly. And she's not doing it with a whole group of people all chatting and obsessed with the
right.
case. And the context is probably the single most important thing here. Without the
Ooh,
context, if I was just looking at that data and nobody told me where the girls were, when they left, what they did, how would I have come up with the cold shock theory? I wouldn't know that they were in Indiana. I mean, I'm not saying she didn't know anything, but she wouldn't have known
no, no.
the
But
timeline to the
also
extent that we do.
we've had the benefit of time too. So we're like armchair
Exactly.
quarterbacks looking back.
Yes.
Now, if you had to
Yes.
go back there to the day this happened, would you have been coming up with this? Maybe not. We've had lots of
Yeah.
time to mull over
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
so,
And that's why, like, I think sometimes in a moment of frustration when you see something that could have helped Rick, you go, oh no, like, why wasn't this done? But then I always default back to going, but you know what? Like, once I've kind of like sent it again, it's not at all, questioned in my mind that Andy Baldwin really, really cares about Rick Allen. To me, the fact that he still does interviews, answers people's emails when they send him stuff, that man cares about Rick Allen. He's not just doing a job. And he did not fail Rick Allen. He did the best he
no,
could with the stuff that he has. But yes, we hope that now, with all of the crowd kind of putting our collective wisdom together, that maybe there'll be even more success in the future, if there is a retrial, hopefully.
right. Nobody would have worked nearly as hard as these guys
Yeah.
against Gull because
Yeah.
she was just going to say no
Yeah.
to anybody over
Yeah.
everything. So,
Yeah. So shout out to Andy Baldwin. I still think he is awesome. And, I guess if you're going to have a defense lawyer, you want a defense lawyer that actually cares about you, not just sees you as a client. And I know in our field, that's what our clients want, and that's what I'd want in a lawyer, in a doctor, and in any professional I'm working with. So he definitely exudes that warmth and that care. And let's not discredit the work that the defense put in, even though it didn't get the result that we wanted. And even though we're going to hopefully help them see that the audio output route change is not the hill to die on in the next trial.
Everyone who's critiquing the defense now, go back to when the trial was happening. I bet you won't be able to find any instance of them doing it back then.
No.
Because I thought they were amazing myself.
Yeah. And this is again where I think as well, like it's totally okay to change our mind and flip-flop. I flip-flopped a lot of times. And like I said, even just then, there'll be moments where I'm like, why didn't the defense do this? They should have done this. And then I center myself and I get perspective and I go, wait a minute. Like it again, like you're saying, Shibby, it's easy to see that after the fact. I wasn't juggling all the legal aspects of this case. I never have. I don't know anything about that. I can be like, oh, but why couldn't they do the cold shock theory? Well, guess what? I mean, the cold shock theory is not actually, there's no literature that necessarily supports it. So maybe they couldn't present it in this way. Like it's easy for me to present it on a YouTube channel. Well, actually it isn't, because it gets debunked even here. Imagine in a court of law in front of a judge,
Yeah, and information, all that redacted pages may have told us differently, but we'll never know because half of it was, or 3/4 of it was redacted.
Yeah. Okay, so before, I've left these slides up long enough for everyone to read if they want to, but basically the critique conflates full operational startup with momentary voltage-driven reactivation. I understand, easy mistake to make. I mean, to some extent, I think it's hard to fully clarify that. It was only when we started to think about it together, whereas like, oh yeah, you couldn't test this, actually, because it doesn't show, because it's a background kind of flicker. I know it sounds, when we say a flicker, you kind of think, when the lights go off and then they flicker on, but that's not what it is. It's not a light flicker. You won't see it, but it's in the data. You can see it in the background. You can't see it in front. It's like illness, you can't see illness sometimes in the body. Unfortunately, with things like cancer, but that doesn't mean that the cancer can't flicker back to life. It doesn't mean, horrible sober thought, but most of us who've had cancer have had cancer cells elsewhere in our body. They break off the cancer and they travel very quickly. Now, most of them die, but some of them sit dormant. That's why I'm on these bloody medications for the next 10 years, right? I still most likely have some dormant cancer cells in my body, which is scary, right? But you can't see them, and even a PET scan can't see them. And so that's why we take all these meds. And so I think it's remembering that all these science analogies, cancer isn't magic, and yet you can't detect cancer until it's large enough to be detected. You can't detect dormant cancer cells in the body. And so the same goes here with this flicker. But you can detect cancer cells once they're large enough, but you couldn't see them from the outside, but you can see them on a PET scan or a MRI. And the same goes, this is kind of like the analogy we're using here, is that the knowledge C is almost like an MRI or a PET scan of the phone, and where you can see stuff that you can't see from the surface of the phone, which is why it's hard to test this anecdotally, and why no iPhone users are going to be saying, oh yes, my phone flickered back and did an update in the background or a sync in the background. It can't show that because you don't know that your phone did a sync in the background unless you have knowledge C. I don't know if I have cancer cells growing in my body unless I do a PET scan. Or unless the cancer cells are so large,
Stephanie has entered the building. So hi,
hey, Stephanie. Nice to see you. So yeah, I guess just to summarize the conclusion here, the critique was saying, that a phone can't just turn itself back on again. It would need more voltage, and it would, there'd be more to it. And what we're saying here is, no, we're saying it's flickered at a very low voltage. It's managed to maybe, send a ping out, a handshake again, and it's managed to update some of the, or bring in some of those messages. That's as much as it did, and then it died again. We're not saying that it powered on, the light never came on, there was no user activity, of course, because that's the opposite of the cold shock theory. So I hope that makes sense. Now, just to look at how AI makes up stuff, let's have a look at the next thing, which is the links. Okay. So these were
Are you choking yourself again? Oh, maybe I'll talk. Dee Dee, are you in shock? You haven't said much.
I'm just leaving this on mute. So
Okay. Amy, are you okay? Ooh, we lost her again. Are you drinking and breathing at the same time again? I've done that with
Yeah,
saliva.
every
Just
time I change topics, I go to have a drink of
mhm.
water and then I choke
Yeah.
again.
Oh, I do
It's
that.
like,
Yeah, and always at the worst times too, right?
and then because like, and then when I'm coughing, sometimes you ever get that feeling where it feels like your skin and your muscle gets kind of sucked into your rib. I don't know if anyone else gets that, but I get it, and that
Oh.
happened, and then I'm like literally like feel like I'm like in pain, having a spasm, I'm coughing, and then I start laughing because I laugh at myself all the
Is,
time.
is that water you're drinking, or did you accidentally grab the wrong bottle? I'm just kidding.
Well, who knows? I mean, maybe someone poisoned me at work. They're so sick of me.
Uh-oh. Oh,
No,
you're at
it's
work. Sorry.
water,
Yeah.
and every time I stop, I go, "Oh, let's have a sip of water and come back." But I probably should just be dry mouth so that I can actually get through doing this.
No, no, it happens at the worst times because you're in a hurry, and even with
Yeah,
saliva, if you breathe it the wrong way, it just kind of, gets stuck there, and it.
yeah. So apologies. Actually, Shibby, or actually, no, I just realized you can't share your screen. I was going to say, do you want to put these links in and have a look, just in case I
Ooh.
end up? Because I do need to probably try and go get some more water. But no, it's okay. Let's keep going because if I get more water, I'm going to just keep spluttering. Um, there's lots of COVID going around in my area again too, so I'm hoping that it's just
Really?
spluttering from the water and not.
Hmm.
Yeah, I haven't had COVID. Get this right. This is the magic of science. I have never had COVID. I mean I took safety precautions early on because I didn't want to ever pass it on to others, and my mum is in her 70s. But when I was going through chemo. And I mean, obviously, this was after the main wave of it, but it was in early 2023. I was heavily immunocompromised, like really. I mean, chemo does that to you; it kills everything pretty much. But basically, I couldn't be bothered though to worry about wearing masks and all that stuff. I can't
Mm.
stand that stuff, like a sensory stuff. Like I don't like it. So and I hate sanitizer. I just can't stand the sticky feeling. I mean, I like washing my hands, but not sanitizer. And I didn't get chemo. I mean, I didn't get chemo. I didn't get chemo. Oh my gosh, there's something wrong
You
with me.
did.
I didn't get COVID.
Right. Well, that hand sanitizer, sometimes people overuse it and make things worse, in my opinion, because it
Maybe.
can dry you out and
Yeah.
crack you out and leave you with your natural oils, which would most of the time protect you. So
Yeah.
overusing hand
Yeah.
sanitizer is not good neither.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the problem with some of these links, and I just realized I can't have the links up and look for them at the same time, but I'll try and go through them. So Apple Platform Security Guide, that is a correct link. It's a general sort of link to Apple, and it confirms background processes occur only through software schedule events, not thermal rebound. So basically, though, this is not debunking the theory. This is just saying that certain things are user directed. We know that, and also we're not suggesting that the full power reboot, as we've already talked about, and therefore, yes, not all the background processes are happening during that rebound. It's a couple of minutes where it basically just pings the tower, receives a whole heap of text messages, and then switches off again. It's not. We're not suggesting that there's any major background processes. It doesn't do a full reboot. So, also remembering as well, we're looking at a 2024 guide. That's not really relevant for a phone that's so old. This one here, Apple developer documentation background execution task explains that iOS background tasks require explicit system. Again, same point. This one here, I don't really understand because this, oh my God, every time. Sorry, guys. Give me a second.
Mm.
I'm just going to try and cough this out.
I'll go for it. Yeah. Mute. So we'll go through chat here. Stephanie, she had COVID so bad right away in March of 2020. It took my legs and oh, I'm now disabled. Oh my gosh, that's too bad. Are you able to get better? Or are you getting a little bit better? I'm sorry to hear. Dee Dee, would you like to say anything?
I would like to say, oh shit, are you serious, Stephanie? I'm so
Yeah, that's
sorry to hear that.
terrible.
That is terrible.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of a few cases, like of people I know with long COVID. It's so sad. It's terrible.
Well, hopefully with the advancements in technology, I've seen, you can have still a comfortable remainder of your life, and good luck to you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to pull up this technical note. Give me a second. And I'm going to laugh at myself here because I have no idea what this technical note is about. So let's share it. But it's not about cold shock, and I don't think it's anything to do with what it's meant to be. So this again is probably an AI platform that's generated these links that is confabulating. But resident tech people in here, does anyone actually know what HFS plus volume is? Because that's what this technical note is about. Does this have anything to do with the cold shock theory? I couldn't get that it was, and because I don't really know what any of this stuff is. So I'll give you guys a minute to look at it and see if anybody understands what this is, because I don't understand it. I'm not even going to pretend. I did ask ChatGPT because, of course, that's where I go if I don't understand it. And ChatGPT said it's not related to cold shock, but again, I didn't do a deep dive into it, so we don't always believe what ChatGPT says at first. But if anyone does know, Shibby, you don't know?
No, I'm trying to. I'm sure if I had
I mean,
a day or two to
it
read
looks like
this, I might.
gobbledygook to me.
I've read it twice,
I mean,
and it's
it's
it
ridiculous.
sounds
Like literally, I'm like, what is HFS plus?
it sounds
It
like
makes
they're
me feel very
like
inadequate.
like how Windows does partitions and stuff. Maybe they have
And
a
it's like,
section that's they hold a section of the RAM or the
oh,
memory, the system files or something. I don't know. That's pretty.
I'm just laughing at how, because I've been learning so much about knowledge C, how little I still know. It's like this drop in the ocean, because when I look at this, I'm like, what? Here I am going, I'm getting this digital forensic stuff. Look at me, I'm doing really well. And then you
Well,
remember, and I guess this is the point we were raising before as well about expertise, because an expert is an expert in specific areas. And I think that was said in the chat too, it might have been Scott. But Scott's laughing, I think, at my silliness of not. I don't know. Do you know what this is, Scott? Because he might know. Maybe you laughing at the fact that I don't know what HFS plus is. Like, I don't know what that is. I mean, look at all of this. Bee trees. What are bee trees?
that's it. We're gonna have to put more
so complicated.
Hey, we're gonna have to put more agents on Scott. He's getting out of control here. So there's only 4 guys now in the van. We're gonna send
what, Scott?
2 more.
Scott, you can do a 10-page essay on HFS plus volume format if you know better. I have no bloody idea what this is. Anyway, we really need some sort of tech person to come and join our channel, because, honestly, I bloody have no clue. Knowledge C, it took me a month to get around. It already says no, not at all.
Well, hey, let's put out the call. Who's a tech? Who do we know that's more technical like this? Let's find someone. I'll put it out. I have like 95 subs.
I've never even heard of this before. So that's why I'm just literally laughing at myself about how when I read this stuff, I just feel so silly. I have no idea what this is talking about.
Well,
so
we're hiring.
No digital
we're looking
forensic expert for me.
We need an IT guy or girl, person.
Hey, Nature Love. Lovely to see you.
Uh-oh, there's my super fan, Nature Love. What was her other name again? Let me go check.
Okay, so
let it be 21. Let it be 21. Nature Love.
Oh,
82.
that's Let It Be 20. I was thinking, I could. Yeah. I was like, yes, that makes sense. We know Let It Be 21. Okay, so this is this technical note TN 1150, and this again, I think now reading it, if nobody else knows of what it is, I don't know, but going back to the links, I think this is the thing, and this is where I think probably this is this one here. It's not saying this though, I don't think, is it? We're all stunned. I think we're all stunned. We're all like, okay, we have no idea about that stuff. So anyway, okay. Well, let's move on. So then we've got Celebrate. We are hiring. Look, I'm willing to pay somebody to read this. Like it's bloody driven me nuts, this knowledge C stuff. I'm willing to pay someone to come and actually give us an opinion on this, because I would definitely do that out of my own pocket, because I'm just like, I just want to know now what all this stuff means. Anyway.
If you come here, I will give you free foot rubs as an IT person, and Dee Dee will give you 1 year of free psychological, what is that called again? Therapy sessions.
Therapy.
Right, Dee Dee?
And yes. Amy G will give you 1 year of psychological problems listening to me go on and on and on and annoy you. Yes. And yeah.
We're hiring.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So here we've got Celebrate. Again, I guess problem here is 2023 edition. But apparently this has notes about this Apple Music requiring authenticated baseband sessions. What's baseband sessions? And it says it's impossible on an unpowered device. And we agree with that. It is impossible on an unpowered device. We're talking about it doing the flicker back to partial life. That's the thing. But again, I guess I followed this link. And I'm just seeing if I can pull it up. Give me a sec.
Now, Battery University, I'm very familiar with them. I've been to them. And O'Reilly, that's an auto parts store. iFixit also. These are all... I used to use these for jailbreaking. Yeah, recovering and interpret. Yeah, I used to use these because they would be where you can go download the free software to jailbreak phones and get tons of information that you couldn't do with iTunes. Those are good sites.
This is not such a good site. 404 page not found.
Well, I mean, for not doing this, but I've recognized.
I'm only joking. No, I'm joking. This is Celebrate, but I think it's just that the link is incorrect. But then I sort of, because I was like, maybe the links, because again, I do think AI can give wrong links. So then you look it up. But the thing with Celebrate is that they do training. They do expert digital forensics training. So we can't actually check what Celebrate's saying.
Well, also one second. Nature Love made a good point that Eldridge did mention that if she had the phone, the physical phone, she could have done lots more, but she couldn't say things that she wanted to say, that she would have needed the phone to confirm or whatever. So she was limited there too on just the report.
I think one of the things though that worries me about the suggestion that there's more movement is, again, look, just a bit of research, and I can research this a bit more. But the thing is that the movement would have been logged through Apple Health. There is, I think, a core system, a core motion system that's different to Apple Health that can show some movement, I believe, over and above Apple Health. But again, given that the GPS coordinates don't change either during that period, and I mean, look, GPS coordinates, as we know, are not super accurate in that area, but we do see the overall trend of movement when the girls are moving, and then it just sort of stops blank at the same spot for a long time. Plus, there's no motion data. Plus, there's no screen on and off. So I still query that, and I also wonder why the defense wouldn't have asked if there was more movement. Because again, that kind of suggests that the defense lawyers didn't want to ask that question. That doesn't really make sense. Why would they not want to ask if there was more movement? That would oh, hey, little one. Hi, gorgeous. But yeah, that sort of, to me, again, makes it seem like the defense wouldn't want to know something that supports the theory that, that the crime occurred later or somewhere else. You know what I mean? That was confusing. But this is Celebrate's website. Let's see. How do we get certified? I want to read this. I'm pretty sure I can't do it.
Hi V, Uncle Shibby here. Hello.
I have my headphones in. Let me disconnect them.
Look at me now. I'm downloading the training guide. But basically what I'm saying is this celebrate is, I mean, this is a training guide. Does this say anything about
Can she hear now, Dee Dee?
What is it? Is it WWAN, guys?
A-N, yeah, W-W-A-N.
See, like it doesn't have it even, I mean, in the trading guide either. So this is the thing. Like I think this is where the links end up being phantom links at times, or they have AI has access to stuff behind this that we don't. Because I think, I mean, if this is actually just, I think it's just a guide to how you get certified. So
right, we have something important. 1 second. V, can you hear me? Can you wave? Your hair looks extremely beautiful tonight, V. Or this morning. Your hair looks beautiful and it's feathered, and Uncle Shibby says hi.
Beautiful
Hi.
girl. We all say hi to you, beautiful. What a lovely
that was
little
me.
girl.
I'm your long lost uncle, your sister's wiser, much older and much wiser brother. So I'll be your uncle, Uncle Shibby. Look at me, the guy on the screen.
That one right there.
Hey. She really is a doll. Stephanie says she's a doll. She's such a cutie. My
Your hair's getting
goodness.
so long. Wow, it's like feathered
Yeah.
up and looks great. I wish
Thank
I
you,
had
Dad.
hair like that. Look at mine. Show her my picture, Dee Dee. I have no hair hardly. I'm getting old and
He has no hair.
losing
Look at
all in my head.
He's
You're
like your
lucky.
Uncle
I
Victor.
used to have it.
He's like your Uncle Victor.
Your mom's gonna fly me out there, so hopefully I'll have
We'll see you soon.
I'll wear a hat
Won't we?
so I don't scare
We'll
you.
all come have a party. Well, you can come all fly come and see me in Australia. Do you want to see a kangaroo?
Oh yeah, we want to see kangaroos.
I'll take you to see some kangaroos.
Send the jet. Send the jet, and we'll pick everyone up.
Well,
and then
I mean, we've got a few episodes of my amazing series ready to go. So yeah, it's only a matter of time. Okay, so the next one is this iFixit engineering blog. Again, when I search this, it comes up with iFixit News, which is a website, but then I couldn't find this under understanding iOS power behavior. So it says explains the voltage rebound cannot trigger CPU or radio systems without PMIC and SMC firmware commands. The problem is, again, I can't find this link. Like I think I flashed it on the screen. It doesn't have that. So this one here, O'Reilly Media, again, couldn't find this. And if you go into this link, it's a book, I think. So it says it only transfer logs. I'm trying to find it. Sorry, guys. Give me a sec. I've got too many windows open as usual. But this is exactly what happens, I think, with links, right? And this is why whenever I do use AI to kind of support me and be my research partner, I will always try to go to the original source. I mean, we had this, I'm sure you had this too, Diddy, when you were writing, essays and your thesis, and I'm sure this happens outside of psychology too. But if you just go by even just the abstract sometimes and you don't read the full text article, you could miss some points that were useful or that actually were consistent, and so it's that same sort of thing where it's like just focusing on the abstract of a journal paper can give you the gist, but it can miss some of the detail. And I think this is what the issue is with AI. It gives you links that give you sometimes the gist, but in this case, it's actually not. Like it's giving things that are not related. It's giving things that are articles that don't exist, like the article that I wrote, apparently. And yeah, I think that's the biggest problem with this. And I guess I'm just calling out what AI does, and I've been the victim of this too. But the problem, oh my gosh, this throat. Sorry, guys. The problem, give me a second. I'm just trying to find this. Yeah, so I mean, like that's the thing. It's just so hard to find these different sites. So this is O'Reilly.
Well, that iFixit, I've used that before, and it's more of actually literally fixing hardware, like replacing screens and home buttons and switches and taking it apart. That's what I've used it for.
Sorry, this person wants to chat with me now, whoever these people are. But yeah, I mean, and so then again, so to give it the benefit of the doubt, because maybe the initial link is incorrect, but like I then search it and it says, iPhone forensics book, which I think would probably be a useful book, but it's not available. So
Hmm.
oh, this is so annoying. I hope this doesn't happen tomorrow on my live too. When you get that little
No.
tickle. But yeah, I mean, look, should I get this book off Amazon? Maybe I should. It's not got a good rating though, so maybe not. But I think this is a thing, and just to make everybody stretch their brains again, I'm going to find this last one because I had no idea what this one's about either. Let's see if one of you guys know. This feels like a really important like IQ test here for us because I have no idea what that is. Certainly do not feel very well informed about this.
No, that looks more like one of those
No, yeah.
sites you should avoid. Like it looks very
Yeah.
basic.
I don't even want to read this.
Yeah, sign in or purchase. It looks like it's from
Yeah.
the 90s. Right? What year is this? Doesn't it have an old
I don't
feel
know.
to it?
Someone wants to tell us what this is about. I have no bloody idea. And I have no interest in learning about this. Like, this doesn't seem interesting at all. No offense to people who like magnetics. This isn't going to help my cough when I laugh as well. Now I'm laughing and coughing.
Well, look at the names. It must be in Portugal.
Here we go,
or Brazil,
Didi.
that's for sure.
Didi, come back on microphone and explain. Onload back EMF of PMSM. Come on,
Maxwell stress
Didi.
tensor.
You've got a doctorate degree. You should know what this is about.
PMS? Oh, the electromagnetic frequency of PMS, premenstrual. My daughter's crying. What's going on? Using the Maxwell stress tensor?
I actually think you might be right about what EMF is. Let's look it up. You might actually be
Wait,
the
I
cleverest
didn't
person
hear.
here right now.
I know.
I have no idea.
EMF pulse is electromagnetic frequency because I can see it's
That's
on.
That's a ghost detector. You know, when you go to look for ghosts, they give you the little EMF machine. What's the extra M?
You guys me what EMF was. I did not have a clue what EMF was. Okay, Scott, you tell us what it's about. He says it's not as bad as it sounds on first class. This looks like my hell. Like this is the sort of thing that I would have nightmares about if I ever had to study this. What on earth is this? Yes, Stephanie, I think I do need a hot tea. I'm hoping this isn't a cold because my nose is running a bit now too. And then I'm laughing and that doesn't help because look, this article just made me laugh at like how I literally am like, am I reading a different language? What is Maxwell stress tensor? I mean, it's got the sort of language I like and it's stress and PMS. I know those things, but I have no idea the rest of it.
Well, the Maxwell stress tensor sounds like something for a bad knee or a torn ligament.
Oh goodness. Okay, so that was an interesting one actually, and no offense to the authors of that. I mean, they're very clever people because, like, honestly, I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm sure they do, but I will not ever try to be an expert in magnetism or something. Magnetics.
Electromagnetism. Okay, right, ChatGPT is telling me what it is. Did you guys figure it out?
Tell us what it is.
The Maxwell stress tensor is a concept from electromagnetism that helps describe how electric and magnetic fields exert mechanical forces on matter. It's essentially a way to express the momentum flux density of the electromagnetic field, meaning how the electromagnetic field carries and transfers momentum through space. Where's Nana G?
Yeah, I know. I need Nana G, but I mean, it seems like Scott understands it. So it's about signals. So is that related to like cell phone signals?
You
Or
are
is
a
this nothing?
magnet and I
Like
am
only
steel? Clone Bella.
is it that's like, I'm trying to think like cold shock theory, we're talking about signals. Is it related to that? Okay. You know what? I personally don't think it is, but I don't have enough technical knowledge about magnetics. I don't know anything about magnetics other than I like having magnets on my fridge. So we can ask Nana G. How about, you know what? I'm going to see if I can actually record Nana G talking about this. But she may not know this
Yeah.
either because she's biochemistry and this looks like physics to me. We need my dad, but unfortunately my dad is no longer with us, so he can't tell us. But Scott's saying EMF going through sensors makes mechanical force. I have no idea. This is like total gobbledygook to me. I'm showing you guys today that there are very massive gaps in my knowledge. Thank goodness. As far as I'm aware, magnetics is not required in the work that I do, unless we're to suggest this is PMS.
This is saying, when I asked ChatGPT, would you use this with a cell phone? Great question. Short answer, not directly, but indirectly. The physics behind the Maxwell stress tensor is absolutely at work inside a cell phone and any wireless device. And then it breaks down how.
Okay, well then, okay, well let's see if we can find out more. Look, leave it with me. I'll check with Nana G and see if she knows or if any of her friends know. Scott says it's got nothing to do with debunking cold shock. Well, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to know what it's about. So I don't know, but yeah. We'll watch this space. Scott has studied as well. Scott has studied. I mean, all of us have studied, but you've studied analytical chemistry, right, Scott? So maybe you can give us a little rundown once you've read it completely as well, and we'll ask an energy. And if it's relevant to cold shock, I will certainly update you guys. Okay. Okay, so the last one of the links is what you were talking about, Shibby. This one actually is a bit more easy to understand, thank goodness, because the rest of them were just bloody driving me nuts. I'm like, what on earth are they talking about? But this one is the BU 502 discharging at high temperatures and low temperatures, which I think is actually consistent with the cold shock theory. But let me leave it with me. I'm just going to again have a look at my little summary of it. I don't know where I put my little summary now.
So what was that? A BU 502? What was that for?
I don't know what the B. Oh yeah, I don't know what BU 502 is. Actually, I didn't even notice that. Looks like an airplane.
I'm going to Google it. You carry on. I'll Google.
It's the flight. It's your flight. It's something United, Bahamas United 502. That's the only time I understand those. They're like flight things, but no, I'm being silly. But
maybe it was the flight before MH371 that went missing.
Oh no,
I'd
love to make a video on that, Shibby. Should we talk about that one day? That's another one of the things I hyper focused on. I even like got involved back in the year when it happened of the crowd. They were crowdsourcing people to like look on maps and like look on satellites. I even did that. I was so obsessed with it.
So there's never been nothing found, eh? That's wild.
Apparently, and I don't know. Again, I mean, I haven't looked into it closely yet, but I think they found some things near the Maldives, but I don't know that they've ever confirmed exactly what happened, which is really frustrating. I hate it when there's a mystery and you don't know what happened. Anyway, I did have a look at this article. Well, I didn't. I'm not gonna lie. I did not read this whole article because this again looks mind numbing to me. But I got the look, BU 808. It must just be Battery University. There must be modules. Battery University 808. But basically, what this is talking about is. Oh, actually, here we go. This would have been the best thing to look at. The voltage I don't know what the y-axis. Oh, capacity. Okay, I thought it was something that I could understand, but maybe not. Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. So the capacity. So as the voltage and the
temperature. Yeah.
Yes. So we'd be looking more though at around this area if we're talking about our cold shock theory, but it's still got the gradient is still steeper than this, right? So I don't know. Look, I'm not going to pretend to understand that now, but I did run it through my good friend ChatGPT to double check what it's saying, and it does basically it's saying the reduced capacity at low temperature only applies while the cell is in that condition. And there you go. Oh, actually, there you go. I'm glad I read that sentence. Here you go. So the reduced capacity at low temperature only applies while the cell is in that condition and will recover. So it will spring back at room temperature. Isn't that interesting? So basically, that's kind of similar to what we're saying. Of course, I mentioned this before. I was saying that I'd heard anecdotally people saying that the battery jumped back up once they were in warmer conditions again. But this is now Battery University that's doing this. I'm assuming this is from some sort of research paper. Looks quite official, doesn't it?
One thing I'd like to add is that's an 18650 lithium cell, which is different than what a cell phone battery would use. Those are the ones that look like a large AA battery. They're 18650 cells, so they're not. I don't believe they have like a cell phone. When you take an iPhone apart, it's flat and it's a square, rectangle shape, and it has its own little computer motherboard on it too.
I think what it's getting at though, because if you read now, I'm reading it. It actually isn't as terrible as it seemed. I was put off after the magnets and all that stuff, but this actually I can read. It does actually make sense. But basically, it's making the point that we make. I think it's generalizing that specific graph there is that battery, but it's generalizing. See, it's saying like humans, batteries function best at room temperature.
Whoa!
Warming a dying battery.
Go on. Sorry.
Warming a dying battery in a mobile phone or flashlight in our genes might provide additional runtime due to improved electrochemical reaction. So, and I mean, I had the theory with the cold shock that potentially, and this is a horrible morbid point to make, but if the phone is underneath the body, it may temporarily warm slightly. And that might be what accounts for it sort of lingering at the 4% for the couple or 3 hours until it dies. So I did wonder about whether that also maps on to, and I hate even saying this, but time of death and the body cooling as well. That might be why it doesn't die as quickly.
And welcome, Nemesia J32. They're a lurker from Finland here. My phone battery has died many times in a freezing weather. On a couple of occasions, the phone has restarted itself. Can't remember
if my gosh.
Lazarus phone was iPhone 6 or 7.
You win the comment of the day. Thank you so much, Nemesia. You have been so helpful. Thank you so much for joining. That's amazing. So thank you. You've won the commenter definitely of the day. That's so helpful. But I mean, I guess what we were reading in this Battery University thing is essentially it's not outlandish. Now, one of the things as well I want to raise is people say, surely the battery couldn't have stayed alive for 16 hours at 4%. And that's not what we're saying, right? We're actually saying that it only stayed alive for another, 3 hours and then it died. And so we're not suggesting that. We're actually saying that, but also remembering that it's not a true battery decline. It is the electrochemical instability. And that is why when you warm it, like in this case with Nemesia, that it can regain functionality in some cases. Now, we're not suggesting that with Libby's phone because it didn't warm up. It's still outside in the cold of Indiana in winter and damp. And, so it didn't power up like Nemesia's phone or like somebody else who may have gone back inside near a warm fire. And unfortunately, it was under a body that was losing heat as well. And potentially the body of a girl who'd crossed a freezing cold creek as well. And I hate speaking about the girls' bodies. It just makes me feel sick. But yeah, I think that actually really helps us. Thank you, Nemesia, for joining us and being willing to share. That really is so useful. Look, I don't want to talk about cold shock anymore. Of course, I'm not going to not talk about it if people want to throw more questions at it or critiques, because that helps us to fine tune it. I mean, if we hadn't done today's live, we wouldn't have heard from Nemesia, and if the critical analysis wasn't done with these links, we wouldn't have come across that Battery University link. I hadn't seen that before. But actually, and this is what happens, I think, a lot of the time when we are trying to critique a theory, is sometimes we end up actually finding evidence that critiques it, but sometimes we find evidence that supports it. And I think that's what the case is here, that none of the points raised here necessarily went against it. One of them at least, or one of these links at least, actually is in line with what we're saying. And yes, we don't have a firm peer-reviewed research article on the fact that it can, flicker back to do these sort of partial, not a full reboot, but partial kind of ability to connect to the tower, I suppose. Not partial connection, but you know what I mean. The partial, I don't know what to call it anymore. I'm tired. It's nearly 11 o'clock, so I'm just losing my word. But I think we don't have a peer-reviewed study on that. We have Nemesia's wonderful post. I think Diana missed that, and I took it off the screen, but Nemesia said that this actually happened to their phone, that it's powered off due to cold and then switched back on. But the absence of evidence also doesn't mean that it's not possible, because we also don't have evidence that can't happen. And if people say the evidence is that their phone didn't do it, the main point that we've kind of come to today is that it's going to be hard to prove whether your phone does it or not, unless you have extraction tools. I'm laughing now because it's silly, right? Of course we don't have extraction tools, so I shouldn't be. I'm trying to like not be silly about it, but it is like, I know I'm sounding silly saying that. I don't have extraction tools, and Shibby's going to try and get his hands on some, but yeah.
You didn't sign up for the Celebrate training?
No, I don't think I have time amongst the rest of the stuff I'm doing at the moment. But yeah, I mean, yeah, next trial, guys. Next trial, it'll be testimony of Amy G. Testimony of Amy G. The defense expert, Amy G.
Yes, and they're not going to let you take any water on stand because you'll be choking after trial.
Well, yeah, I know. I'll be coughing and spluttering as I do it. But yeah, I mean, maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll get COVID if I go to Indiana. But yeah,
and you'll have that
space, guys.
You'll have the electromagnetic PMS action happening too, like Dee Dee.
And you know what? They won't even have to pay me as an expert. I'll just keep showing up there, and I'll just keep going. No. Let me say more testimony. Can you imagine? Judge Gull would be like, get this awful woman out of here. Yeah. You know what?
Awful. She's the one to talk.
Yeah. But if she did that, you know what? All the people that don't like Gull, but don't like me, who would they pick? Gull or me? Like, would Keith actually like Gull better than me if Gull doesn't like me? I don't know.
As long as
let us know in the comments. Who would you prefer, Gull or Amy G? Vote now in the chat. 1 for Gull, 2 for Amy G.
For sure.
Keith's votes come in. I think I can see Keith's vote. Psychically, I can feel it. And it's 1 for Gull. Oh no! I'm even worse than Gull.
Man,
sorry, Judge Gull.
He's lying.
I don't know Judge Gull. I don't agree with her decisions, but I'm not going to judge her as a person. I'm sure that if
she judges people all the time, you can judge her.
Yeah, I guess she was a bit mean about Rick, and that's
I will judge her because she wasn't. She was supposed to be in what's that? When they're neutral, like an interpreter, like a referee, but she was throwing touchdowns and slam dunks for the prosecution. And so
yeah, it's hard to make sense of it, for sure. It's definitely hard. I mean, I don't know why, because there are decisions there that pretty much every decision went in favor of the state, and that doesn't really make sense to me, because I think that they shouldn't have. The geofencing is another hill that I die on, because it's ridiculous. I don't understand how McClelland got away with saying geofencing is inaccurate. It is not inaccurate. He was referring to cell towers. Now, it seems like so many people in this case don't know the difference between geofencing and cell tower, and I wouldn't laugh at that because I didn't know the difference either. But as a Australian woman who just does this for fun, I worked it out. using, publicly available information. I didn't go to geofencing university. So why does the lead detective and the Carroll County prosecutor not know the difference between geofencing and cell tower data? I mean, I think that's a reasonable question to ask, right? Or cell tower sort of location. Anyway, okay, guys. Thank you. I mean, there's 25 people still sitting here listening to this. This has been a ride. We've been looking at magnets and what was the other one? HPS. I don't even know what that was. But we've also been looking at the technical stuff around lithium-ion batteries, which, if I never hear about lithium-ion batteries again, I'll be quite happy. Tomorrow, we are moving on. We are going to the very salacious Hoosier Harvester footage. We're going to talk about more of a speculative theory that I have around that isn't as wild as stamping on a Ford Focus onto the screen. Whoops, I took myself off the stage. I was doing a shibby.
A shibby.
Sorry, Shibby. You're not going to live that down after telling everybody else their sound is wrong.
No problem. Hey,
Cool,
that's why
right.
I went and bought a new mic. But also, I don't know what that was yesterday or the other day, but yeah, there was some kind of feedback coming through because
There was, wasn't there? Yeah.
I listened back to it, and but my room, I didn't have any background. Like I had everything off. It was totally silent.
It was the electromagnetic field.
That's what I was about to say. Do you have an EMF
Yep.
reader around
It was
you?
either that or my ovaries were acting up. One of the two.
You can tell it's late. It's 11 o'clock after a long therapy day. That's why I'm like hysterical about everything now. Everything's funny all of a sudden. I think we are funny though. I do think this is, we should do a comedy show.
No problem. As long as when somebody chokes on water, we call it an Amy.
You
Or
know
when
what?
somebody
You can call lots of things an Amy. I am not, I don't mind making fun of myself. Everybody else does it. I may as well just join in. Amy found the phone in the tree. I'm the cell phone expert. What else do we have about me?
Oh, we have one with
ChatGPT on meth, guys. My ChatGPT is good. I mean, obviously, meth helps my ChatGPT because.
Wait, I didn't hear that one. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, these are all the cool
Wow.
catchphrases about me. I look,
Wow.
I don't mind them because they're not actually that bad. Oh well.
Do they have meth in Australia?
I probably didn't like
Sure.
being called dumbass, but anyway, it's okay. Maybe it's an affectionate. My ex-husband used to have an affectionate nickname for me, which was Dumphy. He'd call our kitty cats the dummies, and I was Dumphy, but it was actually very it was actually loving. It would look. My ex-husband and I are not together anymore, but it's not because he called me Dumphy. That was actually quite sweet, and I liked it. So shout out to him for that if he's watching my channel, which I'm sure he isn't, because he's not interested in true crime, which is why we're probably not together anymore. I know, only joking. I was going to say something else. So, okay, serious now. Tomorrow's video is going to be super fun. Not super fun as in like fun, but I think it's going to be more interesting because we're going to look at more at, again, how maybe people could conflate information, maybe at a little bit of deception and manipulation, of course, always allegedly. And then on Saturday your time, Sunday my time, we're going to try and bring Dee Dee in. We're going to bring Ash in. She's been requested back. Ash is my amazing, one of my best friends who was on the panel, which we never finished because we all have ADHD, but we will finish it one day. But Ash is going to come back in, another neurodivergent firecracker of a woman. Well, I wouldn't call her a firecracker because she's not fiery, but she's very, very clever. I always advertise her as the cleverest person I know, but my sister gets upset when I say that on my channel because my sister is a professor and she is also the cleverest person I know. So, I just know a lot of clever people. Okay, so they're all clever. You're all clever. Dee Dee's clever. Shibby's clever. We're all clever. Okay, but Ash is going to come on, and Dee Dee, if you want to come on too, and maybe Shibby can read the transcript for us of Kathy Allen.
I would gladly read anything you like.
Now, you know what we could do? Actually, Shibby, if you be the whoever was interviewing Kathy Allen, and we need one more volunteer from the chat. Hebby, This is Hebby's debut. Hebby can
Whoa.
be Kathy Allen.
Yeah. And if she doesn't
Perfect.
want to,
Okay.
there's always
So
other people.
yeah, I'm sure.
That'd be a good one. Very
I'm sure other
special.
people would. Yeah, well, Pert came on our show the other day, so maybe Pert, Carol, anyone's welcome. Auditions, we're taking auditions. However, we are going to be sexist about this one. We want a female for Kathy Allen, so no Charles, not you. Only joking, being silly. But
Dee Dee.
yeah,
Dee Dee.
female. No, Dee Dee's going to be the psychologist. We're going to have the 3 psychologists, and we're going to have
Oh.
Kathy and whoever is the ISP. Well, you're going to be the ISP person, Shibby,
You know
again.
who's also
You always end up going
active?
to that side.
So if Hebby doesn't, we got Nicole,
Yeah.
Carol, Pertinent, and Peggio will do it. So there's lots
Adrienne
of,
might do it too.
Yeah, there's lots of good candidates. Let's see
Yeah.
who fights and wins.
Scott's going to do it. Scott's definitely
We'll have
in for the
you
role.
have to brawl in a ring, and the rumble, whoever wins gets to play the part.
And you will get a percentage cut of the super chats, which will probably be $0. Only joking. No, I'm not fishing. I'm not fishing anyone.
Don't.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Poor me. I won't be able to feed my cats their treats today.
There's special food.
Okay, guys, so lots of exciting stuff, lots more to dig into, to talk about over the next few weeks, because there's always something to talk about. And if there isn't, then Shibby and I will just find something, because we will definitely save it for a rainy day, going back over all of my previous videos and posts and laughing at me, because that'll be fun. So definitely join the chat for that one, Keith, because you'll be good at that chat. Only joking.
Welcome to Grey Hughes Investigates.
Yeah, Scott's saying that we are Grey Hughes Investigates. Yes. Well, actually, because I am going to be doing an overlay of a car tomorrow, just like Grey Hughes does. So, yeah. I'm not going to do it in the technical way he does, because I have no idea about that.
Will we be able to see the light through the rims? That's most important.
Oh, I mean, you can see literally Rick Allen sitting in his car planning what he's doing in the car. I mean, I can show you that. I have the electromagnets.
Yes.
You have the EMF reader.
And Rick Allen had PMS that day. I mean, no, I'm only joking. Please do not sound like that, guys. Rick Allen is not guilty, in my opinion. I'm going to show you another car that I think could be the blurry black car. And I'm not suggesting that the other car is Bridge Guy, because I don't think that the 1:27 p.m. car is anybody who did anything wrong. So
should we give a teaser of who the other person could be, the owner of that other car? The teaser?
We're not going to give away all our secrets.
Okay. Well,
all I'm going to say is
that
all I'm going to say is that the owner of in my opinion, this is speculation. I cannot have any studies, and I don't have any planted people in the chat to come and back me up. No, honestly, that was a real person. I did not solicit that person to come in and share the story about the phone. Okay, that was a real person. So thank you, Nemesia. Nemesia was not paid very generously.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
No, I know, either did I. I just thought of it just then. I know. No, I mean, like, I could have paid, like, if I wanted to do that, you would have seen my niece pop in and say it. She would have been like, oh, hi, Auntie. Guess what? My phone did that. Only I wasn't even alive then. No, she was alive in 2017, but still. Anyway, no. So the person who I feel drove that car is somebody who would have been questioned in 2017, and who I am not at all saying is related to the crime, but I think was potentially driving down the road around that time. I can't prove it, but I believe that is a real car. I believe that it is a small black car. And if anyone knows who drives the small black car in Delphi in the case, it is written, it's buried in some people's documents. All eyes might know, because it is buried in her documents. And I think that person's car is the car, and it's not related to the crime. I believe that Bridge Guy potentially exits the Comet-style car, which has certainly been seen by 2 people, so can't possibly just be some random occurrence, 2 unrelated people. So if you want to prepare for tomorrow's video, watch the Tale of the 2 Cars. And that will prep you for the fact that I don't believe that that the car in question is the one at the CPS. I don't believe that's
Right.
the issue. I believe it's the old car that is on the curve of the road.
Right. And you know what the funny thing is I won't say any specifics, but they said to this person said they were shown a video of it, right? But it's not like,
Yeah.
it's like, here, look at it, like, here's a, but not the actual video itself, but they were shown a video and they were told that this is,
And look, see, Shibby and I have not actually spoken about this, and Shibby knows we're already like we're such good co-hosts together. We already know each other, and Shibby has
oh,
already read between the lines. You're right there, Shibby. I mean, I've given you a few clues along the way, and I think you've been a very good, what do I say,
well,
systems thinker, and you've pulled together all the threads, and you're on the right track.
actually on my live stream, that's part of what we read though. So I had a cheat sheet because
Yep.
I
So
won't
everyone
say,
go watch Shibby's live stream because
ooh,
then you get the primer for tomorrow's video. So watch
yeah.
Shibby's live stream, not the one where he doesn't speak.
I made that one private. Okay, so maybe we should end with a funny note. Okay, so anyone wants a good laugh, I made it private so you won't be able to see. But tonight I did my first live stream before the one I just made, and I talked for a half an hour, but I didn't put myself on stage. So it's like I had my microphone muted because you couldn't hear my voice. So every few minutes I played some sound effects after I made a joke. I spilled my guts for 30 something minutes. I talked about my life, my children, my real name, my job, everything. And I
He
didn't
gave
have
you
my
credit
microphone
card
hooked up.
details as well.
Pretty much everything. And they couldn't hear my
And
voice. And I didn't
and
find out till after.
he confessed to many crimes and
Luckily, maybe it's better I wasn't on mic. But anyways, I was an epic fail and I've made it private so you can't know all about it.
look at Nemesis doing a funny too here. Do you want to know the proof of why Nemesis is not my little niece? Nemesis, you naughty person. You've been talking to Scott because my niece doesn't call me auntie. Ha 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 ha. She has a different
Oh,
name for me. So that's the proof, guys. Go and check it out
oh,
in the Magnet Journal.
that's a red herring. That's intentionally
Oh,
to
sorry.
distract.
Thank you, Nemesia. Though you did a great job sharing your own personal experience. I love that when we share personal experiences. The other day, Didi, you missed a wonderful live stream where it turned into almost like a little group discussion about how people's lives can end up leading them into difficult places. And we were talking about TJ and I were definitely on the same idea around. And I know you'd be of the same opinion, Dee, that people who are in jail are not monsters. They're people who've had really rough lives, and there are reasons that people end up in those situations. So it was a lovely chat. So that was a more serious note.
Right.
It was beautiful. So we're going to do more psychology related stuff. I'm sure Dee will love to join those discussions, and we'll actually let her speak that time.
Maybe it's something I'll actually have some experience about. But you guys, I have not been catching. I mean, I'm sorry, I have been a little bit lost and I need to catch up on what's been going on lately. I mean, you're spitting out these videos like boom, 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 like one after the other.
I know. I mean, this is what happens when you get someone with hyper focus and excitabilities. It just doesn't stop. And then also, it keeps getting people throwing things at me, so I'm going to just keep saying stuff, right? That's the thing. I think that's what's so funny is like the more that people will critique something, whether it's critiquing the theory, which is of course fair, that's what we're supposed to do, or critiquing me, it's like, okay, I'll just keep going. I really toughened up in this space, which has been actually a life lesson that I needed. So I always quote the theory of positive disintegration, and check it out, anyone who's interested. But Delphi for me has been a positive disintegration. So I'm coming back out. I'm the phoenix rising. I'm probably the boldest I've been in my entire life. So I'm proud of that, and I'm glad.
And me too. Look at me.
Look at Shibby, right? And we're going to get heavy
was,
on. Look at us all.
yeah, I was hiding under my bed for 10 years, and then Dee Dee and Amy held my hand and guided me, and here I am.
That's what we're going to do.
So proud of you guys. You guys should be so proud of yourselves. Let's give you a round of applause.
Ooh. Hey, if this keeps up, I'm gonna get a camera and I'm gonna
Hey,
show
this is
my
more for
pretty
Amy.
face.
Okay, this is more for Amy first. Ladies first. And then Shibby.
Yay! Boo!
Ta-da! Thank you. But thanks everybody. This has been fun. It's been a fun live stream. And Dee Dee, don't think you didn't have something to add there. You were the one who first told us that EMF was electromagnetic field. I mean, I'm sure there were people in the chat, maybe, people, I'm thinking Scott, because he's a know-it-all. I think he's actually trying to take my crown away from me. But there is space for the male know-it-all, and then there's a female know-it-all.
Well,
And
to be
just in
honest,
case anyone thinks I'm being rude, I know that Scott knows that's in
no.
good faith when I say that, because he already knew
Yeah.
about all the sticks. I was going to say it on his comment this morning, but I had to go to work. So I'll make my
Well,
know-it-all joke now for you, Scott.
Dee Dee has put a lot into the show because Scott was about to leave. And then when he saw Dee Dee on screen, I saw a comment there. He said, well, I'll stick around now. So,
I don't know about that, Shibuya.
for sure. I
Dee
know
Dee
it.
Well,
brings.
nobody wants
So
to show their face, so I have to get people engaged. Because if I don't see somebody's face, I don't really stay engaged myself, you know? Like phone
Well,
no,
therapy
I get
session
it.
versus
hey,
face to face.
No,
I can't do
I get
phone.
it.
hey.
I just was like, because I was flicking through so much and stuff in the first part, I was like, I better just, because I better read the screen rather than try to not look like a completely silly person on the screen with this. Look how crazy my hair's getting. Can you see how much longer it's getting, guys? You've been
Plus, look
watching
at
it
you
grow.
guys. You guys and your giant heads, and then you got little tiny head me in the middle there.
Wow, you have me on here to
Wow.
help, and I have to offer something if it's not
That's it.
commentary.
That's it. I'm ordering a camera and getting one today. I have Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
I can have one here in 6 hours.
Okay, so tomorrow we're going to see Shibby. Dee Dee, you offer a lot. Your moral support, and you embody the true beauty of a therapist who just has so much compassion. So you do offer a lot. I wouldn't actually still probably be doing this if it weren't for Dee Dee. The amount of times that I'd come into your chat and be like, I'm done, I'm going. But yeah, so
Yeah.
don't sell yourself short. You are the reason that I'm doing this channel, and yeah. So love you,
Well, hey.
and love you too,
Yeah.
Shibby. You really helped me
Thank
too.
you. Thank you.
And love everybody in the chat. Even Scott, when he steals our mods and does naughty things. No, we like Scott. Scott, thank you so much too. Lots of moral support, even though Scott is, I won't call you, what shall I? A guilter. He is a guilter.
Oh, what percentage are you at, Scott? Are you still
Alas,
at, what
he
was
said
it?
he went up. He said he went up.
What? What are you at,
I know.
Scott? Put it in chat. What's the percentage, Scott?
He said 87%, I think.
What?
I'm not happy.
That's it.
But he's so intelligent. How could that be?
Yeah. What's the deal here? Are you a plant, Scott?
It's okay.
Another one
You
of
know
Amy's
what?
plants?
He says it was something to do with the Kathy Allen interview, I think. So don't you worry. We'll fix that, because the psychology will make sense of this. I promise you. Well, maybe I can't promise you, but pretty sure that I'll be able to sway him back down a bit.
Oh my gosh. That's it. I'm calling in the big guns. Kathy Shank is on duty in front of your house tomorrow.
The Kathy Shank.
Kathy Shank
That's
is
it.
in every one of our shows. You know what we should do? We should have Kathy Shank's picture in the corner and have it
That's
an animation that pops up at the end.
Yeah. And
Oh,
have her
no,
over a
Kathy
picture of
Shank.
Scott.
Okay, vote 1 for Kathy Shank, vote 2 for Shibby Boss McClellan, and 3 for Mullins. Oh, and Holman. Gosh, how could I forget the most popular people? And Gull. So many to choose from. Yeah, anyway, okay, guys, look, it's 11:18 here. I'm still at work in my clinic, so I'm gonna pack up and go home. I'm gonna try and drink some water without coughing, and I'll see you guys bright and early. It's only 10 and a half hours till I see you again. Shibby, I did. You'll probably be working still.
You better go get to sleep, young lady.
I'm gonna get home, have a shower, get a little Spooky's had a haircut, so he'll be on with us tomorrow with his shorter hair. Kai will be in sharing his commentary. I hope he's better at looking at digital camera footage than he was at understanding Snapchat. But anyway,
Awesome. I
Well,
look forward to it.
thank you, Amy.
Bye. Thank you for
Thanks,
joining,
Shibby.
guys. See you guys.
Bye.
Good night, guys.